Part 44. About the fact that I unintentionally raised my sister to be a cripple. Author, Wo Bulletin 11 Huan Tiu Lan. Chapter 435. Gaga Dash. After putting on his school bag and walking down the ginkgo slope in front of the campus gate, Sakakihara followed the telephone poles standing on both sides of the road and extended his sight to the end of the narrow road. The setting sun has already turned the sky into flames, and a few crows flying from Shinjuku are standing on the corner of the teaching building in the distance. Raku Sakakihara looked up at the sky and found that since the rainy season passed, the dusk in Tokyo was much more golden than before. He felt the breeze blowing in front of him and moved his eyes to the side of Tianhai's Higsu, who was walking beside him with a big white flower on the back of his head. Today's Yuki, Sakakihara Raku, is a little hard to describe his feelings. After practicing basketball with Liuli for a while, she seemed to have gained some confidence of her own. Is basketball difficult to play? Yes, Amami Nazuki, who was carrying a small school bag, nodded immediately. She turned her bright eyes to Sakakibara Raku's face. Every day I feel that I have a lot to learn and need to master a lot of knowledge and skills. Sakakibara smiled and said, actually, you don't have to work so hard at ordinary times. How could you have been playing since school ended at 3:30 without having to take a break? But, if not, it will be difficult to win the championship together with Sister Liuli. Sakakihara looked ahead, led her across the sidewalk, and said with a smile. Why is Yuki so obsessed with the championship? Isn't that what Ellie said? I said. Well, Tianhai's Higsu looked at him very seriously with her expression and eyes. Ellie said, he wants to see what I look like after hard work, because he hasn't seen it yet. So Yuki practices so hard every day. Sakakihara thought about it carefully. This, I did indeed say it. I said it to comfort Higsu shortly after she brought her back. The original intention was actually to allow Tianhai's Higsu to focus on other things and to prevent her from blaming herself too much. Now it seems that Yuki regards her words of encouragement as a goal for which she strives endlessly. Somewhat familiar. Yuki, I don't know if you understand or not, but if a person only works hard for others, then life will be very tiring. So I don't recommend you to think like this. I hope you can learn more about basketball. Find your place in sports. Tianhai's Higsu blinked. Don't you understand? Sakakihara asked. No, Tianhai's Higsu looked at him and shook his head. I just don't understand why Ellie would say that. Sakakibara raised his head and looked at the pedestrian-filled street in front of him. Occasionally, there were a few tourists from abroad who saw the high school uniforms the two of them were wearing and were particularly curious. He ignored the curiosity of these tourists and patiently explained. Because both me and your sister Kyo are doing this, and in the end, Yuki, you also know the situation. But if I see Ellie watching me while playing basketball, I will feel a very special feeling in my heart. After hearing this, Sakakihara laughed again. Then let me call this feeling happy, because someone pays attention to you and affirms your efforts. If one day the person who affirms you no longer affirms you, will you still do it? Do you want to stick with what you are doing now? Tianhai's Higsu was a little unable to understand this sentence, but it could be seen that she was trying her best to understand. Is the person Ellie is talking about Ellie himself? If Ellie stops paying attention to me, will I continue to practice basketball? Amazing. Sakakihara praised her. It was hard to imagine that Yuki would understand such difficult words. That's it? Look, you are happy now playing basketball because I will often come to see how you are playing, right? If I don't support you and stop coming to see you, Yuki, will you have to give up your long-term friendship? Sticking to the goal makes it seem like you have gained nothing. It seems to be like this. Raku Sakakibara looked at the setting sun in the distance of the city and felt quite emotional. That's why I say that you should find your own ideas in the sport of basketball. instead of just thinking that I like to see you like this, so you take action. When Yuki faced this sentence, he half understood it. She didn't quite understand what to do. In fact, Sakaki Hararaku couldn't give her any good answers. After all, this was her own idea. It was only in the past 2 days that he had the idea of unteeing himself. Don't worry too much about this. It's good that Yuki has a goal now. And doesn't Yuki herself say that she is very happy exercising with Sister Liuli? This is actually something that belongs to you. Ellie, then I don't understand why Ellie would say that if you do this, it will be very, very uncomfortable in the end. After Sakakihara heard it, he repeated what he had just said to her. Amami no Yuki listened again, thought again, and then stared at Sakakibara-raku's face for a long time, and in a weak and small voice, she said something that shocked Sakakibara-raku for a while. As long as you're happy, that's fine. As long as you are happy? Sakakihara-raku looked back at Amami Nazuki, and felt that the girl's extremely calm, yet unusually warm face was far longer than the elongated shadow under the setting sun. It's really something only Yuki can say. Sakakibara laughed again, feeling sorry for her in his heart. His feelings for her were so humble. Maybe it was the matter between Kyo and Liuli that pushed her to the limit of the feelings she dared to ask for from her? Raku Sakakihara found a little girl in front of the drink shop, tugging at the hem of her father's clothes, asking him to buy her ice cream. The father couldn't resist the little girl, so she pulled him to the front of the store and bought a large cone. After the two bought the cone, the little girl was satisfied. Her father took her and left quickly. Only Tianhai's Higsu beside her was still looking at the sunset scene. Family. It is indeed a scene that Yuki has been paying close attention to. It's as if everyone has a home and is happy, except for this poor little Yuki who stands in the distance, looking alone at those people who have perfect families. Want some ice cream? Then I'll buy it for you. May I? Of course, has Yuki forgotten that I used to pay for you to buy food? Sakakibara took her to the beverage shop and asked the clerk for a large cone. A minute later, he received it and handed it to Amami Yuki. Thank you, Ellie. Seeing her satisfied expression holding the big cone in both hands and staring at the snowy top of the cone, Sakakihara Raku truly felt that the eldest daughter of the Amami family had never seen the world at all. It's nice to have fun. What good? Y'all can buy me ice cream. Are you so satisfied with just this? And don't you have a lot of money yourself? Grandpa gave it to you, so you can buy it yourself. Yeah, I'm very satisfied, Tianhai's Higsu nodded seriously, and the one I bought for myself feels completely different from the one Ellie bought as a gift to me. Although their identities are similar to those of Kiju, the difference between them is ridiculously huge. Seemingly feeling something, Sakakihara suddenly glanced behind him. In his sight, a line of flaxen color flashed past and disappeared behind the neon billboards on the street. Yuki, let's keep walking. Okay. Let's eat something too. Huh? Can you bring me something you've eaten? Amami no Yuki turned the cone 190 degrees and handed it to Sakakibara Raku. Raku, eat here, I've never eaten here. Haha, no need, I'm just teasing you, I won't eat from you. Alright. Asterisk. After calling a taxi and returning to the downstairs of the apartment, Sakakibara handed the key to Amami Yuki and asked her to go up first. Wouldn't you like to go home? I'll wait first, you go up first. Ellie want to go out for a drive today. No, I won't go out today. Good. Amami no Yuki trusted Sakakibara Raku so much that she took the elevator up to the 16th floor and went home alone without even asking why. Sakakihara looked at the lead layers in the elevator window flashing upward again and again, slowly looked back, and then immediately turned his head 90 degrees. This time, unfortunately, a certain girl with long flaxen hair did not have time to dodge. Sakakibara looked at Tianhaiju Liuli up and down. A suit jacket, a white shirt underneath, and a red bow on the collar that is only worn by schoolgirls. She is tall and wears a light-colored pleated skirt that does not reach her knees. Her slender white legs were exposed, paired with a pair of loafers that are standard for high school girls. A very iconic beautiful girl. Amamikuruuri's expression was a little awkward, but he maintained his dignity and reserve and forced a smile at Sakakihara Raku. Sakakihara-san, good afternoon. Luli, why are you following me all afternoon? Following? No, it's just, by chance, that I happened to meet Sakakibara-san. You happened to meet me in school uniform? I remember where Liuli-san lives now. Isn't it the opposite direction from where I go home? It doesn't look like you wandered here and bumped into me, right? Amamikuruuri doesn't know why she feels that Sakakibara Raku is inexplicably cold. After a few days, Lejun has become impatient with himself. Sakakihara seemed to see through her thoughts, and immediately smiled at her and said, Ruri, don't think so much. It's just that you called me Sakakibara-san, and I was just kidding you. A joke. Really? Tianhaiju Liuli probed carefully. Her whole body became extremely cute because of her slightly suspicious eyes. Of course. A while ago, didn't I ask Liuli to apologize to you every day? I even sent you lunch, even though you didn't take it. Tianhaiju Liuli was choked up all of a sudden. It sounded like Li Jun was blaming himself. How strange. It was Lejun who obviously said something outrageous before. Why did it look like you were coming to him to apologize? No. There's no point in chatting about this, it's better to get down to business as soon as possible. Amamikuruuri threw away all the messy thoughts, turned into a cute expression, and said seriously to Sakakibara Raku. I'm here to see Lejun today. Not stalking. It's stalking. Oh, it's stalking. Just now I saw the look on Lejun's face when Zhigsu looked at you when Lejun bought ice cream for Zhigsu. What I want to say is not this, but that I want to find Lejun to really understand the situation. Sakakihara turned to face her. Do you want to reconcile with me? It is impossible to say that Lejun's current attitude is not angry. In the past few days, Tianhaiju Liuli was surrounded by countless girls every day, and Tianhaiju Liuli felt very anxious. Sorry, Liuli, I really didn't mean to irritate you these days. You see, my contact with those girls was limited to chatting. After you said those things to me that day, I didn't accept any more things from them. When Tianhaiju Liuli heard this, she felt much better than usual. She blinked and asked curiously, really? What does this mean? This shows that Lejun is indeed listening to what he said. He still has himself in his heart. Sakakihara nodded seriously. Of course. Liuli must have had a lot of psychological struggles when she chose to follow me today. You came to me alone. Well, Kyu definitely doesn't know. Lejun seems to know a lot. That also saves me a lot of explaining. Therefore, after a slight pause, Amamikuruuri's expression became solemn, and he seriously invited Sakakibara Raku in front of him. I want to talk to Lejun. Okay, Sakakibara immediately raised his wrist and looked at the dial. Right now, just right now. Otherwise. Or are you saying that Liuli is not free now? No, Tianhaiju Liuli shook his head immediately after regaining consciousness. It's just that Lejun agreed so quickly that I didn't even react. Sakakibara took out the key to the sports car he bought before from his school bag, held it in Tianhaiju Li's eyes and shook it. Now, let's go, I'll take you to drink coffee. That supercar that Lejun bought before? Is it too high profile? No way. I drive it out for shopping every day. I'm afraid of being high profile. If I buy it so expensively and don't drive it out, wouldn't it be a waste? Tian Hijuli Yulai. Dot. Asterisk. Bang. After Kuruuri got into the passenger seat of Sakakibara Raku's sports car, he helped close the door. Looking at the interior of this valuable top-level supercar, Juri suddenly remembered that this was his first time riding in Sakakibara Raku's car. The engine started and the sports car drove onto the main road in the city. As soon as this car appeared in the city, other private cars obviously deliberately avoided it. Tian Hijuli Yulai knows this. No one wants to touch or brush against this supercar, for fear of not being able to afford the compensation. Kuruuri looked around at the luxurious interior of the supercar, and finally focused on the profile of Sakakibara Raku, who was driving the sports car. Did Lejun buy this car with his own money? Yeah, I bought it myself. Awesome. It's nothing. My uncle helped me and gave me a lot of startup capital. Tian Hijuli Yulai didn't care much about this, he only cared about the effect he would have if he drove a sports car out. I always feel that Lejun has a very special temperament now. Sakakibara held the steering wheel and stopped the car at the traffic light intersection. Is there any good aspect? It's bad. I just feel that Lejun is not as conspicuous a sports car as before. Lejun still drives it every day. Is it the seat under my butt that I don't know how many women have sat in? It's obviously my first time to sit in it. Not many, just 3 people. Really? Tian Hijuli Yulai couldn't believe it. Who are they? Sakakibara laughed immediately. When he saw the green light, he lightly stepped on the accelerator and started, Zyuki, Suzu, and Zi. Tian Hijuli Yulai breathed a sigh of relief almost immediately. Do you think I go out every day to talk to women when I drive? Tian Hijuli Yulai looked resentful. Then why would you drive a sports car out? Well, if you think about it carefully, it seems that it would be good to strike up a conversation with a few women. It should be easy to stay in a hotel with them. You're still talking nonsense. I'm really angry. Okay, I won't talk anymore and focus on driving. When we get to the coffee shop, we can have a good chat. About the fact that I unintentionally raised my sister to be a cripple. Author, Wo Buletin 11 Huan Tiu Lan. Chapter 436. 15 minutes later, Sakakibara drove his sports car to Omotesando Station. Located between the Minato and Shibuya wards, with rows of trees on both sides of the road, this is a bustling shopping and cultural district known for its wide boulevards, stylish boutiques, cafes, and artistic atmosphere. Famous. Naturally, tourists and young people from all over the world are indispensable here. Raku Sakakibara turned the vehicle onto a main road lined with ginkgo biloba trees on both sides. Kuruuri, who was sitting in the passenger seat, clearly observed that the tourists and young people on both sides of the road were looking at the supercar he was riding in curiously. Their eyes were either filled with wonder, envy, or pure interest and curiosity. Occasionally, some people questioned whether the sports car was in line with its price range. Some brave people have already raised their mobile phones to take pictures. While Kuruuri was observing this, he turned his gaze back to the side of Sakakibara Raku's face, who was concentrating on driving. She was wondering if Lejun was pursuing a similar look when he drove his sports car out for a drive. Asterisk. Sakakibara found a suitable place to park, and then walked into the Omotesando shopping street full of trees. The streets are filled with bizarre buildings with unique artistic flavors. After walking for a while, a store that looked out of place on the bustling wide road came into view. Using wood and bamboo as the main materials, it blends in with the surrounding natural environment. The entrance features an arched doorway with spreading greenery above. An ancient iron signboard hangs above the store door, with the name Guksen Cafe written on it. When Kuruuri followed Sakakibara Raku and looked at the store curiously, he was already at the front and pushed the door open for him with his own hands. When I opened the door, the crisp sound of copper bells was still lingering in my ears. Tian Haijuli Yulai looked at him standing on the steps with some curiosity. What's wrong? It's nothing, I just feel that Lejun is a bit trying to please me. It's rare to go out for coffee with such a beautiful lady, don't you need to be more gentlemanly? Sakakibara said teasingly, her tone and movements changing in line with the words. Tian Haijuli Yulai was naturally not someone who would be so happy and forgetful because of such words, but he just felt that his attitude had changed a bit. Maybe it's not his fault that Lejun is so popular when he plays basketball. He received small gifts such as water and drinks, but he didn't know it. Thanks. Tian Haijuli Yulai thanked her and walked into the coffee shop first. The two of them pulled out chairs by the window and took their seats. The clerk brought water, and Raku Sakakihara took the menu and opened it. You haven't eaten anything since Li Yulai trained in the afternoon. Do you want something extra? How about smoked salmon with cheese? Anything is fine. Well. Sakakibara ordered himself a chicken and vegetable salad, and ordered 2 extra cups of milk coffee, and handed the menu back to the waiter. I've actually been to the store before. Tian Haijuli Yulai looked around, and finally looked away, focusing on the street with towering trees outside the window. Oh. Tian Haiju really nodded and faced Sakakibara Raku again. It's just that it's very different from what I remember. In the past, when my mother would come to visit me and Chi-Chi, she would often bring us here. If you look closely, you can see that the changes are really big. It sounds like Li Yulai doesn't like changes. Changes can be good or bad, but no matter how they change, as long as you don't particularly hate the impression of the past, you will still have some nostalgia for the past where you lived. It's really a twist and turn. However, Sakakihara Raku didn't understand Ruri's idea of taking the initiative to turn the topic onto the right track. But at this time, he felt inexplicably unwilling to say these words so soon. It's not resistance. But I feel that talking about these makes me feel tired. This reminded Sakakihara of himself not long ago. If Li Yulai and Kyo could give him a chance to sit down and talk, he would do his best to explain to them. You must do your best to take care of their mood and explain your thoughts. After all, I did feel sorry for them. Speaking of which, if you keep trying to find them, you will never get a correct response, or even a chance to speak. But once you let go, the needs will actively seek you out. Lejun, why do you want to take Zhixia back? This one. Obviously Lejun has made promises both to me and to Kyo, but those words that day were undoubtedly betrayal to us. Sakakihara pondered for a moment. This matter is very complicated. I don't deny my own mistakes. Let's put it this way. Li Yulai, why do you think I chose to take care of you in the past? Why did I do it after you chose to dump me, Li Yulai? I will also take the initiative to take care of you. Tian Haijuli Yulai was speechless. No matter how calm Sakakihara Raku's tone was just now, the word dump it was extremely dazzling to Amamai Kuruuri's ears. It was indeed my fault that time. Mr. Le was willing to treat me like that at that time. It was because I felt very uncomfortable and sad, so he took the initiative to step forward. Actually, it's more than that. Raku Sakakihara shook his head. Based on this alone, I wouldn't take the initiative to approach you, Ruri, but after overhearing what my aunt said to you, I understood that you yourself were also affected. If a person makes a mistake after being influenced by others, I think the burden on him should be lightened no matter what. What's more, I have some feelings for you, Li Yulai. Yes, I understand what Lejun means. So, based on what I said above, the reason why I went to save Xue was because I couldn't deny the emotions I had with getting along with Xue these days. I also couldn't see someone who was so happy by my side. People who fall into a situation where they can only be depressed forever. She made a mistake, but she did sincerely repent. She couldn't suppress her inner feelings, but she chose to hide her feelings and leave voluntarily. This is the sincerity that Yuki has in herself. Put yourself in Zhigzyu's shoes. Was it the same as you, Li Yulai, who was abandoned by everyone? This is consistent with the mood I had when I chose to forgive you, Li Yulai. Amamai Kuruori took a good moment to digest what Sakaki Hararaku said. It's complicated, but not incomprehensible. Sakakibara enjoys explaining his motivation for choosing to take Yuki home. The motivation for this departure was not out of liking Zhigzyu in the sense of love, but because he couldn't bear to see Zhigzyu fall into that situation, and Zhigzyu needed him so much. In a sense, is this an emotional betrayal? After taking the meal from the waiter, Sakakibara continued. Luli would also like to hear how I treat Jishui recently. You may have heard some opinions from Aling. Let me tell you personally here. In fact, my relationship with Zhigzyu is not as close as it was when we lived together before. Tianhaijuli Yulai listened patiently. The relationship between Zhigzyu and me is very complicated now, and I did promise her that I would be responsible for her. You probably don't know this, Li Yulai. When I brought Zhigzyu back, I helped her repair the life manual that was wet by the rain. After we got together, she confessed her love to me. Tianhaijuli Yulai, the kind that truly expresses your feelings. Yes. Sakakibara stared at the faint cigarette tails floating on the coffee in front of him. It's a long, long paragraph. Just listening to it makes me feel that her feelings are humble and weak enough. Coupled with her own physical condition, and her having never been truly loved by anyone in her life, it is difficult not to have the desire to take care of her. When I hear what she said, I always think of Zhigzyu, who always likes to stare at children with parents. Every time she sees some parents taking their children out to play and the parents buying things for their children, Zhigzyu will subconsciously take a step towards me. Every time I notice this, I always wonder, is there envy or fear in Yuki's eyes? When Sakaki Hararaku said this, he paused. Then I remembered that Zhigzyu just wanted to make me happy, so she worked hard to draw and give it to me. With a series of complex past and feelings combined, I couldn't let go of my desire to take care of Zhigzyu. This is consistent with wanting to take care of you, Li Yulai. Tianhaijuli Yulai, then what if there is a proper handling after Shuo Zhigzyu leaves? Sakakibara picked up the coffee and took a sip. Of course everyone was happy, but I went to the fourth aunt's house where Zhigzyu was going to inspect in advance. The fourth aunt had a particularly pampered son, and a passerby touched him a little, and in the fourth aunt's eyes it's all disgust and disgust. In addition, Aunt Zi also said that the fourth aunt didn't like Zhigzyu in the past and was often neglected. If she has any conflict with that spoiled little nephew again, does Li Yulai think that would be a good place to go? Tianhaijuli Yulai couldn't refute. Things about Zhigzyu are really too complicated. She even felt that it would take thousands of words to describe the relationship between several people. Luli, because of this, I said to you that day that I was responsible for Zhigzyu. Now, I have agreed to Zhigzyu's request that she can stay with me for the rest of my life. I just took into account you, and also because I am responsible for Zhigzyu. Yuki has no love, and I have no guarantee that I can be responsible for her emotions. Tianhaijuli Yulai stared at the reflection in the coffee and nodded. I understand. What is the real relationship between Lejun and Zhigzyu now? Well, it's hard to say. If you want to say that we are sworn brothers and sisters for life, that's not necessarily true. After all, Zhigzyu's feelings for me are indeed love. Sakaki Hara thought for a moment and came up with an explanation. Between us, it's more like we each get what we need emotionally. I don't understand. It's very simple. The feelings I have for Zhigzyu are not love, but for Zhigzyu, these can be regarded as love. Tianhaijuli Yulai understood instantly. Then, Zhigzyu relies on this feeling to stay by your side, Lejun, and plans to follow you for the rest of his life. Well, that's probably it. Grandpa, does he know? He knows. Sakakibara nodded affirmatively. He also agreed with me to take Zyuki back. Tianhaijuli Yulai completely understood the current situation and asked the question he wanted to ask most now. Does Lejun think this is a betrayal of me and Kyo? Sakaki Haro laughed happily. It's up to you, Yulai. If you think it's true, it's true. If you think it's not, then it's not. No matter what, I promised Higsu that I can stay with me for the rest of my life. The smoked salmon has been sitting in front of you for 7 minutes. Tianhaijuli didn't take a bite. When she was thinking about this matter, she felt that it was very hard to say. He said it was betrayal, but he had never betrayed him emotionally, nor in his behavior. Saying it wasn't a betrayal, he agreed to keep another girl by his side for the rest of his life. I believe not many girls can accept this, right? Hard to say. It's really hard to say this. It's really what Lejun said. If you think so, it is. No, that's not it. Everything comes down to personal opinion. Lejun's opinions and thoughts are already very clear. Then, the problem comes back to yourself. Do you want to accept it? Do you want to accept Lejun who will bring you Higsu from now on? Amamai Kuruuri looked seriously at Sakakibara Raku's face opposite. For other people, past experiences may be forgotten as soon as they get through it, but I can never forget the past. In my heart, haven't I already recognized him? What the heart longs for is recognition and interdependence. It was he who appeared in front of him in time and chose to ignore the past and save himself. Now I can still recall the way I threw myself into his arms, holding on to his clothes and sobbing. Even though he had done something sorry for him, he still wanted to give himself a place to rely on. Tianhaijuli Yulai suddenly closed his eyes, with a faint smile on his face. No, although these things are important, they are the cornerstones that have been mentioned countless times. They are firmly fixed and cannot be shaken. Raku Sakakibara, who was eating a salad, noticed her expression. Luli suddenly smiled when she looked at me. She thinks I'm so handsome lately? To tell you the truth, in the past few days, I've learned how to do makeup with a ling. Huh? No way. Tianhaijuli Yulai, who was slow to react, muttered to him dissatisfied, recently I just feel that you are neither salty nor indifferent to me. Is it? Sakakibara held the plate in front of him and sat down next to Amamai Kuriyuri opposite him. He then pulled up the coffee cup sitting opposite him and moved it in front of him. What do you do? Get so close. To be honest, Liulai is a beautiful girl, I like her very much. Actually, everyone will like it, right? She is tall, has a good-looking face, is good at sports, and is a rich girl. To be honest, Liulai, I was very happy when you agreed to be my girlfriend at the beginning, and I really wanted to take you with you. It's great that you go out shopping and show off to everyone that I can date such a beautiful girl. Tianhaijuli Yulai is not the kind of girl who gets happy when she hears kind words. But the guy in front of me was praising him without using any fancy words. Hearing it in his heart, he felt very happy. Luli, you said I want to hold your waist now. There are so many young people in the store, how many people will envy me? Probably, a lot. That's all. Why? He leaned forward slightly, leaned into the girl's ear, and whispered, after all, Liulai is so beautiful that it makes me happy to see her beauty. Tianhaijuli Yulai's ears immediately turned red. He was sitting next to her calmly and quietly eating his vegetable salad. But just happy. Indescribably happy. It's really strange. Obviously, I was angry with him not long ago. Tianhaijuli Yulai stirred the coffee in the cup with a silver spoon very uneasily, lowered his head, and whispered. Say sweet words every day. If Liulai puts away her blush, I can still think that you hate these words. Did Lejun go too far a few days ago? Where is it? Huh? Where else? If Miss Liuli requests it, of course I will work hard to correct it. That's pretty much it, Tianhaijuli muttered in a low voice, and the speed of turning the silver spoon with his right hand accelerated a lot in line with the smile that appeared inadvertently on his face. Also, can you say that title again? Miss Liuli. Tianhaijuli immediately pouted her lips happily, and then said in a serious manner, you must have said it well. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. About the fact that I unintentionally raised my sister to be a cripple. Author, Wo Buletin 11 Huan Tiu Lan. Chapter 437. Take it. Thanks. Amamai held the fruity milk tea he handed her with both hands. While feeling a little warm in her heart, she noticed Raku Sakakibara's expression at this time. There was no such thing as the gentle smile he would give back when she looked at him in the past. There was no concern and inquiry that would follow after staring at him for a while. Compared to the past, Amamai feels that Sakakihara Raku has really undergone some completely different changes. Strolling along the bustling commercial street and drinking milk tea leisurely, Tianhaijuli was a little distracted by the noise around her. Is the milk tea not delicious? Sakakibara Raku's sudden question made Amamai slow to react for a second. She took her lips away from the straw and looked at him specifically. No, it tastes good. So what is Liuli thinking about? Tianhaijuli felt that he still understood her as well as before. Even though she was just distracted for a moment, he still paid attention to her. If you have any questions, just ask me. I'm still with you now and can explain it. Well. Tianhaijuli made some preparations, and then asked his question. I always think that Lejun has changed in the past few days. It's a very strange change. I can't describe the feeling. I can't say I hate it, nor can I say I like it. I want to understand what this change is. Sakakihara did not immediately explain her question, but walked forward silently, pondered for a moment and then asked, Ruri, have you ever had a dream of your own? There is no need to ask about this. Just like you Liuli, I lack the so-called dreams. In fact, I have asked myself countless times, there are so many different dreams in the world, and what kind of person can find these dreams? Sakakibara paused. I am a person who, to put it to the extreme, can't even answer what I like to eat or what I like to play. I can immediately think of the things that others expect me to do. Ling wants to eat curry beef, Zhixyus she still needs help with her homework, and Liulikan needs me to play games with her today. If Kyo needs a sense of security, I will try my best to accompany her. Doing things that others expect makes them happy, and it makes them very relaxed when I'm around them. This is how I have lived in this world for a long time. It's wired. Mingming Lejun's tone was extremely calm, but Tianhaijuli could read an inexplicable feeling of exhaustion in his expression. My life comes from the recognition of others. I give my family as much care as possible and hope to receive love in return. What I like is the feeling of being cared about and recognized for my actions. Sakakibara stopped and looked at Amamai next to him. Obviously, this is how Liuli recognizes me. And my actions will generate more emotional feedback. Therefore, I particularly like you, Liuli, who recognizes me like this. What's the point of this? Isn't it right? Amamai couldn't understand what Sakakihara meant. Isn't it the point between lovers to recognize each other and support each other? There is nothing wrong, but from the beginning, this kind of feeling itself does not belong to me and needs feedback from others. If there is no such feedback, then the root of what I do will no longer exist. This involves the most important issue, dependence. Are other people's lifestyles correct? Is it right to live a life of dependence on others? Tianhaijuli Yulai repeated this question in his mind, frowned, and pondered seriously for a long time. Incorrect, she looked over and replied. Sakaki Hara smiled, why does Ruri think it's incorrect? Because we have no way to guarantee that the person being given the gift will be able to give the correct emotional feedback, just like a mother. Tianhaijuli Yulai's tone became lower. Even if I try very hard to satisfy my mother is never willing to pay attention to the most important relationship between us. Sakakibara immediately took over her words, that's it, Ruri, we can't guarantee whether the recipient will always recognize him or her. If the person we put infinite trust and affirmation in chooses to deny ourselves, then we ourselves will also be recognized. Negated. Lejun's words are a bit theoretical. But Tianhaijuli Yulai understood deeply that wasn't this how his mother chose to deny herself? It was indeed a very uncomfortable time, and I was so broken that I felt like my entire life had disappeared. If you think about it carefully, Lejun was considered a substitute for his mother in the beginning, right? Because he was willing to care for himself, and after his subsequent devotion to himself and his choice to forgive himself, he truly fell in love with him. Standing on the street, Raku Sakakibara noticed the changing expression of Amamikuru. Do you understand, Ruri? Why did I suddenly change like this? It seems I understand. Tianhaijuli Yulai frowned. He seemed to have grasped that point, but he didn't seem to. Lejun, can you explain it again? Sakaki Raku did not refuse, and while continuing to go shopping with Amamikuru, he continued. This actually depends on your own experience, Li Yulai. Li Yulai chose to trust me completely at the beginning, and reached the point where she believed unconditionally. But after the accident when you were hospitalized, Li Yulai's feelings for me were actually not what they were before. It's humbled. Tianhaijuli Yulai asked, is it equal? No one owes anyone. Well, this is what I said before. This means Li Yulai that you are now independent, and it also means that you no longer need to be completely dependent on me. You still choose to continue to associate with me. You just like the time you spend with me, and your feelings are not humble. Tianhaijuli Yulai nodded repeatedly after hearing this, it seems like that's really what happened. Now I don't seem to have such heavy feelings as before. I can still joke with you, Lejun, and blame you as my girlfriend. Sakaki Haro laughed happily. That's what I mean. Then the reason why Lejun chose to change is actually so that he can gain a feeling similar to independence. Don't you want to be restrained anymore? Smart, Li Yulai. Humph, I won't be very happy if you praise me. The more you emphasize something, the more it will prove to be its opposite. Sakakibara stretched out his right arm towards Tianhaijuli. When she saw it, she just pursed her lips slightly and took advantage of the situation. It's just that I wasn't so willing to get to this point in the beginning. Huh? What do you mean, Lejun? Sakakibara smiled and didn't explain much. He looked at Amamikuru, who was holding his arm and drinking milk tea, looking like his little girlfriend. What are you looking at, Lejun? What are you looking at? Of course it's to see our Miss Li Yulai acting like a cute and arrogant girlfriend. Tianhaijuli Yulai hugged his arm tighter again, pulled him into his arms, and stared at his chin. Why don't you smile at all? Don't you like it? I like it, of course I do. A tall girl with long legs like Li Yulai is particularly nice to hold. Tianhaijuli Yulai immediately hit him on the head with dissatisfaction. I just reconciled with you, and you are talking nonsense. Luli doesn't want me. In no mood. Tianhaijuli Yulai was speechless for a long time, and then replied evasively, of course I have. But I think you have been very bad recently, so I don't think about you very much. Just think about it and be careful. To be honest, you have really gone too far in the past month. If you ask me, I should be angry with you. As Tianhaijuli Yulai spoke, he became so angry that he clenched his fist and hit him on the shoulder. I told you to ignore me on purpose, to accept gifts from other girls on purpose, and to say those outrageous things. Sakakibara laughed again. Ruri, there is a saying in your grandfather's hometown. Hitting means kissing and scolding means loving. Have you ever heard of it, Li Yulai? Then I really love you, Lejun. Tianhaijuli Yulai beat him dissatisfiedly for a while, and the past unhappiness was considered to be in the past. To be honest, Lejun, I don't even trust you now. Why don't you trust me? After all the explanations before, Li Yulai, you don't think it's a betrayal? Where does this distrust come from? Funny words. And girls are hanging around you all day long. So that's it? Li Yulai, do you think those girls are comparable to you? I'm not that arrogant. But when it comes to my position in your heart, I still have confidence. Isn't that what it is? Sakakibara stretched out his hand, hugged Amamikuruuri's slender waist, and pulled her to his side. Ruri, you think so, why do you care about those people? They are just little girls who like to watch me play basketball. Even if you like me because of my appearance, do you think I would give up Li Yulai for her? Sakakihara lowered his mouth to the girl's ear. They are neither as good as Ruri, nor as beautiful as Ruri. Don't you think so? This is true. Although it was just some simple words, once Tianhaijuli Yulai was praised like this, it would become soft, as if it had melted. Not only will your waist and legs become weak, but your body will also become coy in your arms. Then if you compliment her again, she will blush and whisper something like I hate it. Don't keep saying this in a voice that sounds like she's having trouble or coquettishly. Tianhaijuli Yulai was just praised by him, and she looked much more handsome when she looked at him. We haven't been this close for a long time. Huh? Yes, that's right. Luli still remember what we did when we were in love. How to do it? Tianhaijuli Yulai and him were so close that it was embarrassing. They were on the street now, right? If you hug yourself like this, people on the road will definitely see it. Her mind was a little confused thinking about these things, and she didn't respond to Sakakihara Raku's question for a while. Isn't it just kissing, hugging, and then rubbing against each other in Lejun's arms? Are you going to do this later? No, this is a bit. What's wrong? We have just reconciled, and we can't let Kyo know about this. After knowing, she will definitely ignore me. So, Li Yulai and I are now in an underground relationship? Shouldn't we cherish this? Tianhaijuli Yulai panicked when he heard this, even though he didn't do anything special. Here. You can't kiss on the street here. There's no way you can kiss in the street. How about going to the car? I'll take you back just in time. Tianhaijuli Yulai faced his gaze with a slightly stiff expression on his face, and then after he smiled, he felt angry and a little expectant at the thought that this guy was about to kiss him as soon as they reconciled. Then, he decisively bumped his head on his shoulder, maintaining the same posture until he returned to the sports car. Is that okay now? Who said that? Back in the car, Tianhaijuli Yulai was sitting in the passenger seat, her face flushed at the moment, and she looked up at him. In fact, Sakakihara Raku also did nothing to her, just took her back to sit in the sports car, and then held her hand. By the way, Li Yulai has been through so much with me. Are you still shy about something like this? Who said no? You still want me to sit on your lap? Coming then. Seeing that Tianhaiju really was hesitant, Sakakibara kissed her quietly without her reacting. Tianhaijuli Yulai was shocked, she didn't expect him to be so proactive. The girl subconsciously put her hand on her lips that had just been kissed. Lejun. Luli, you don't have to worry so much. Weren't you always unhappy that I stayed with Chi Chi? Now a great opportunity is right in front of you, Li. I won't fall for such a simple provoking method. Tianhaiju really's eyes dodge, and Sakakihara laughs without saying a word. Although there are 10,000 thoughts in my mind now, I don't want to admit that he has a beautiful smile. But I just vaguely felt that he had a nice smile. You might even subconsciously think, are the girls who watch him playing basketball also attracted by his face? Although I really don't want to admit it. But he is very handsome. Sakakihara Raku still maintained his expression. Tianhaijuli Yulai already fully understood that this guy was taking advantage of her liking for him and deliberately kept an open attitude, waiting for him to be caught. Really abominable. First, let's talk about it first. This is your initiative. I'm just following the trend. Of course, whatever Li Yulai says is fine. After getting another response from him, Tianhaijuli Yulai moved her position and moved to his lap, sitting face to face. Sakakibara rested his head on the headrest of the chair, raised his head, and faced the shy Amamikuruori who was sitting on his lap. Then he looked at her with a hint of aggression and took the initiative to bite his lips. The sweetness that fills the whole body can even temporarily paralyze the brain. Tianhaijuli Yulai's kiss was full of initiative, and when she kissed him back, she would bite him back even more passionately. Up and down, back and forth, filled with thoughts of her wanting to possess herself. Sakakibara could clearly feel that she was angry. Still jealous. That's not it? Do you want to kiss for a while longer? Of course, Lejun now can only be mine. Feeling the lingering taste between his lips and teeth, Sakakibara opened his eyes again and saw Amamikuruori, whose head was slightly larger than his at the moment. He didn't even speak again before Tianhaijuli Yulai kissed his lips again. His hands were supporting her slender waist, and her body temperature was rising rapidly. Would you like to go to the hotel? Take a shower and eat an ice cream. Humph, you have a beautiful idea. We just reconciled after everything was said. I thought Li Yulai couldn't control herself anymore. It's just that I want to enjoy it more while Chi-Chi is away. I'm not stupid. I'm not completely angry with you yet. I need to overdo it. Sakakihara held her soft body in his arms. That's understandable. It's quite comfortable to rely on. When do you plan to reconcile with Kyo? July. Sakakibara didn't express much. I can't decide what she thinks. But. Okay, Li Yulai. When Tianhaijuli Yulai saw this, he actually felt a little sad. Has the relationship between the two reached this point? Lejun, why are you angry with Kyo? About the fact that I unintentionally raised my sister to be a cripple. Author, Wo Buletin 11 Huan Tio Yu Lan. Chapter 438. By the way, Lejun, do you want to practice basketball with us now? For me to go over there and get an eye roll every 5 seconds. Amamikuruori lowered her head and fell silent. Recalling what happened in school yesterday, she felt a little sorry for Sakakibara Raku. Proposed to him to practice together, and then thought that Chi-Chi would also come over. As long as the two of them got along for a while, they could remember their past friendship and get closer despite the distance. But it always backfires. Kyo would say something venomous to Lejun every 5 seconds, and Lejun would not give in to Chiu now, and then the two of them would taunt each other with harsh words without mercy. It felt uncomfortable to be caught next to the two of them. Do you think it's necessary for the two of them to poke each other's scars like this? Playing basketball is full of gunpowder. Lejun, can you try to give in to Kyo? Why let it go? Because maybe Chi-Chi is waiting for you to soften your attitude, Lejun. Why didn't she just relax and wait for me? Because it was Lejun who did something excessive before. It's not like Lejun doesn't know how important Kyo attaches to Lejun. Let's discuss the matter, Li Yulai. Okay, Tianhaijuli Yulai nodded. I never care what Kyo said to me. I did something wrong, and of course I will try my best to make up for it. My demands are indeed too much for you. Then why is Lejun still so angry with Kyo? She said things that she, as July, should never have said. I can't accept that she didn't acknowledge her child self who was saved by compassion. She thinks my sympathy is unnecessary. Li Yulai, do you remember what I said to you yesterday afternoon? Tianhaijuli Yulai thought for a while and tentatively guessed. Lejun hopes to be loved. Sakaki Hara shook his head. To be precise, it's my life comes from the approval of others. I give my family as much care as possible and hope to receive love in return. What does this mean? Tianhaijuli Yulai didn't want to listen blindly, because if she didn't think about it, she believed that it would be impossible to reconcile the relationship between him and Kyo. Therefore, after careful consideration, I tentatively asked. Because Lejun relied on these emotions to support himself in the past. By asking Lejun to give up sympathy in July, is he denying Lejun your fundamental motivation? It's the fundamental personality. Sakakibara burst into laughter, then calmed down. Since she asked me to abandon my compassion, that's good, but it also means that she denies the past, and she doesn't want to be saved by me. I used to believe that Kyo was the one who understood me, and I was willing to take responsibility for her feelings because of this. But since she doesn't even recognize me as a person, why should I contact her again? Everyone is born as an individual. No one is the child of destiny or the person who is destined. Since Kyo thinks so, she doesn't even recognize her past self. Then I don't want to beg her so humbly anymore. After Sakaki Hara explained carefully, he glanced at the time on his watch. Okay, Li Yulai, I don't want to explain too much about July. I have a game with people from the basketball club at noon. You can make your own arrangements at noon today. After he said these words, he walked straight to the teaching building. Well. Amamai Kuruori stood under the shade of the Zelkova tree, watching Sakakibara Raku's back go away. The girl sighed slightly in her heart. She thought to herself that the relationship between Lejun and Kyo was more serious than she imagined. Chi-Chi was angry because Lee-jun didn't keep his promise. Lejun was angry because Kyo didn't recognize him and even asked Lejun to change his long-standing insistence. Maybe Lejun's current changes are just fulfilling July's wish? The current Lejun is the result of Chi-Chi's hope that he would abandon his sympathy. Sure enough, in this world, people can't understand each other after all. Tianhaijuli Yulai even felt that he didn't agree with what Chi-Chi had said to Lee-jun before, the words "I've had enough and put myself in someone else's shoes." If there is no empathy, there will be a lack of empathy. If you don't put yourself in someone else's shoes, why would you expect others to understand you? Empathize with yourself? She has little hope for their future. Will the two of them really go their separate ways in the future? No, there is no use in sighing. Now that I understand the true thoughts of the two people, I have to work hard to find a solution. Asterisk. There are still 11 days until the official start of the sports festival. Well, what should I say? In addition to studying, the entire campus also involves sports. On the one hand, they have to prepare for the final exam, and on the other hand, they have to practice in advance for the sports festival events. Therefore, even though it was 8 o'clock sharp in Tokyo time and there was no sunlight in the sky, there were still many people left on the school playground. Ha. Yuki's slightly childish voice caressed both ears, and Sakaki Hara couldn't help but slow down the rhythm so that she could be more comfortable. Yuki, if it doesn't work, just take a rest. No, it's not easy for Ming Mingle to still have such physical strength. You can stay with me alone. You should be more proactive. Seeing Amami Nazuki's extremely red face, Sakakibara was happy to see that she was still willing to persevere, and could only say Umitba in his heart. Then she used one hand to dunk down the basketball she was trying to defend. Now Tianhai's Higsu really couldn't stand it anymore and sat down on the grass. The sweatshirt stained with sweat stuck to her body, not only the curves of her body, but also the traces of underwear on her shoulders and chest could be clearly seen. Lele's physical strength is really, really great, Tianhai's Higsu gasped, the redness on her face not completely gone. Don't use such strange words, others will misunderstand you. But if Li Yulai hears this, I'll be happy to stab me in the back. Raku Sakakihara sat down next to her with the basketball beside him. Looking up, the sky above Tokyo is a deep blue. The plane left a trail in the clouds, shining with bright spots of light. Why do you say that? Living is quite tiring, isn't it? If you think about it carefully, death is actually nothing. You can sleep peacefully and forever. You will no longer be in a dilemma, and you will no longer feel uncomfortable when you make mistakes, hurting others and yourself. Amamizuki hugged her legs and turned her head to look at Sakakibara Raku's side face looking up at the sky. She was obviously very happy to have Raku practicing basketball with her tonight, but seeing his expression suddenly made her feel quite depressed. Immediately afterwards, there is also a kind of powerlessness. Even though she was by his side, she couldn't give him anything or help him. It's just an inexplicable complaint. Sakakibara smiled suddenly, met the slightly lowered gaze of Amamizuki, and touched her head with the big white flower on top. Don't worry, for me, Yuki is also unique to me at the moment. There are not many things that can support me alive now, Yuki, you are the one. But, I obviously haven't done anything to help Ellie. Trust. Absolute trust counts as one, Raku Sakakibara continued, staring at himself reflected in Amamizuki's eyes. Yuki will definitely do what I say now, right? Well, whatever Ellie says, I will do. How should I describe this feeling? Trust without a trace of doubt or suspicion, without caring about anything else, with the world in your eyes being the only one trusting you, is indeed something that makes people persevere. It is precisely because of this that Sakakihara Raku does not want to ruthlessly remove the only son in her world. Perhaps Sakakibara Raku's smile and head touching were very effective for Amamizuki, and her heart felt a lot warmer. She felt that she owed too much to Ellie. It's all because of my own happiness that I became what I am now. I want to give Ellie a squeeze on my shoulders. Huh? That's a good feeling. Come on. Sakakibara sat up slightly, and Amamizuki immediately came behind him. Although the movements are a bit clumsy, they are sincere and feel particularly comfortable even when pinched. The July wind blew gently, and my body soaked with sweat felt a warm coolness. The beech trees next to the stadium rustled in the night. A little further away, students from the track and field department were still shouting slogans and kept running. Well, Sister Li Yulai said this afternoon that she wanted to ask Lejun for something. Is something wrong? Raku Sakakihara closed his eyes and enjoyed the shoulder massage from Amamizuki behind him. If something happened, why didn't Li Yulai tell me herself? Ah, that's right. Chichu will be there in the afternoon. It's not good for her to talk to me alone. Tell me what's the matter. Sister Li Yulai said that the members of the basketball team have been found. Basketball is a 5-player game, and their women's basketball currently only has 4 players, Li Yulai, Kyo, Ling, and Higsu. Who did the 5th person invite? Tian Nai. The timid girl immediately appeared in Sakakibara's mind. Ah, it's true. It was probably Isuzu who fooled her into this. She's not a girl who likes sports. If you think about it carefully, this basketball team is really in tatters. Kyo and Aling are 2 weaklings in sports. Although Higsu's physical strength is not bad, he is a novice among novices, so he is practicing hard every day. Tian Nai probably can't either. In other words, Li Yulai can be considered a leap-level athlete. She must be the power forward in the team, specializing in offense and defense. Then, Sister Liulai also said that the team has been formed and has been practicing for several days. I want Le to help me. Help. Well, Sister Liulai said that Le has been very close to the people in the basketball club recently, and she wants Le to help organize a practice match against each other. Ah, got it? Before, they were almost practicing basic skills on their own, and they had not really experienced any actual combat. Now that the team is fully formed, I want to try it out in practice. It is indeed possible to find someone from the basketball club. It is indeed more convenient for Liulai to invite people from the basketball club through herself. It's just that all the people I know are boys. Will they agree? Asterisk. What? There is such a good thing. Okay, Sakakibara decided to take back his idea last night. When I heard that these guys could play ball with girls, it was really, to describe it as a chicken blood, it is no exaggeration. The head of the basketball club is Senior Makino Yang. He usually looks ordinary, but he is a decent and sunny boy, so he is particularly happy. He was unwilling to give up this opportunity of a practice match to the girls in the club. Although there are no girls in his club at all. Are there really any girls willing to join the stinky men's club that is full of sweat every day? Ah, speaking of which, it was only recently after I joined the basketball club that they hired a female manager. Makino Yang directly put his arms around Sakakibara Raku's neck, and said to the members in front of him very generously in their club classroom decorated only with basketballs and jerseys. Let me just say, it is a very wise choice for Junior Sakakibara to join our club. The deputy minister, wearing a pair of rimless glasses and a bookish face, but tall and thin, Senior Gao Shan held his forehead and said helplessly. When I said that I wanted Sakakibara to join, I don't know who or where said that after he joins, there will be no girls watching our games, and he must not be allowed to come in, or something like that. Huh? Is this happening? Why don't I, the minister, know about it? Makino Yang grinned widely. When he saw that the club members were looking at him with dead eyes, he immediately changed the topic and became serious. Ahem, let's get back to business. Of course we can help with the things you mentioned, Sakakihara. Although the basketball club has a large number of people, there are only a few people who actually come to participate in club activities. Everyone has their own circle. Basketball, in fact, we only practice this with a few classmates we have good relationships with. And this sports festival is not just held by our school, people from other campuses will also come to participate. As the basketball club of Myeongdoku Junior High School, we have an obligation to help the women's basketball team in our school improve their strength. This is an unshirkable obligation. So, when and where is this competition? Sakakihara shrugged. It's not clear yet. They haven't decided yet. I only found out about it yesterday. That's okay, it doesn't matter. When it's confirmed, it won't be too late to inform us. We'll be available at any time. Even if you agree to this matter. Several classmates from the basketball club were quite serious about this matter, and were still discussing whether to try to keep their hands or something, so as not to make the opponent look too ugly and lose face. Hey, Sakakibara. Do what? Sakakihara turned his head and saw Fujino Yoshiyuki coming to his side. This guy had been playing basketball with him for a long time, so he joined the basketball club. Anyway, in his previous department, he was also doing odd jobs. As soon as others said that playing basketball would make his girlfriend like him more, he jumped on the bandwagon. Sakakibara, who is the girls' basketball team that you said you want our help with? Didn't I say that just now? No, you never said it. Didn't you say it? So why are they so excited? Or are they just happy to hear that they can play basketball with girls? Isn't it Liulai's team? Fujino Yoshiyuki was stunned, the team of deputy squad leader Julie. Ah, what's wrong? Sakakibara didn't understand why he looked like this. That's no chance. About the fact that I unintentionally raised my sister to be a cripple. Author, Wo Bulletin 11 Huan Tio Yu Lan. Chapter 439. What Fujino said was no chance. Raku Sakakihara didn't understand what was going on until the last physical education class in the afternoon. Several people from the basketball club came over and saw that among the people who needed to accompany them for training were Tianhai Julie Yulai and Tianhai Kaimingyu. They said they were unwilling to train with them. Sakakibara senpai, it's not that the senior doesn't want to help, but hey, how should I say this? Sakakibara looked around on their faces and roughly understood what they were worried about. Because of Tianhai's family, classmates in school subconsciously keep a distance from them. There's no need to be so taboo, Tianhai is nothing, and they don't know how to eat people. After hearing this, Makino Yang shook his head. No, it's easy to get injured when playing basketball. I'm afraid I might accidentally offend the two eldest ladies. Why do you think this will offend them? Isn't it a good opportunity to get to know each other? It will also be good for the family behind Makino Senpai, right? Makino Senpai's father is the president of an electrical and mechanical company. The Tianhai Group has a wide range of businesses and branches. If there is no chance to contact them in Tokyo, Sakakibara Raku doesn't believe it. Above, Makino Senpai knows Kiju, which is definitely not a bad thing for him. What if I said that my dad just robbed a business of Tianhai Electrical and Mechanical last month? Sakakibara felt that there was nothing wrong with it. It can only be said that the people in the subordinate companies are not doing things well. You can't blame others. And I accidentally offended the Tianhai family. Sakakihara Raku was silent now. You can't blame us for what happened to our elders. It just doesn't work anyway. After repeated dissuasion, the minister finally agreed reluctantly. Of course, the actual situation is because Julie Yulai took the initiative to come over and say hello to everyone one by one. When she came, she brought a bottle of drink for everyone in the club. Although it is a small favor, for teenage students, it is a great blessing to have a girl give them a bottle of water. The minister could not resist the opinions of the members, and was unwilling to put aside Tianhai Julie Yulai's kindness in coming to say hello. Moreover, they could not refuse the beautiful girl's request at all, so in the end they had no choice but to agree. Will Raku-kun play? Tianhai Juri glanced at Sakakihara Raku and asked curiously. Before Sakakihara Raku could answer, Makino Yang replied enthusiastically from the side. That's for sure. Sakakibara is now considered the main player of our team. If we want to accompany him in practice, he is one of the most suitable candidates. Not to mention the relationship between myself and Julie Yulai as boyfriend and girlfriend, right? When Sakakihara Raku heard this, he looked at Juriuri in front of him. She had tied up her hair in a high ponytail, looking very delicate and energetic. He asked for no reason. Is this what you want to do, Li Yulai? Tianhai Julie Yulai blinked, not showing timidity in front of outsiders, but still a little regretful in his eyes. Lejun, you won't be angry, right? Sakakibara shook his head. I know you've worked hard, Li Yulai, but it's not me who has the final say on whether to reconcile or not. Tianhai Kaimingyu is not far away, and you can definitely hear what he said. But Chi Minjiu obviously didn't want to think that he existed, and simply treated him as heir. Tianhai Julie Yulai noticed this and seemed very embarrassed. Look. Ahem. There's no need to say so much. Why don't we start the competition directly? Before we start, how about we all get to know each other formally? Makino Yang immediately smiled and replied, no problem, I'll go and pull them over. 5 minutes later, the two teams stood together. On the left are the male members of the basketball club. On the right side, there are young girls who can be said to be beautiful. Just standing face to face with several beautiful girls, several members of the basketball club became very awkward in front of them. What's this? Suzu Sakakibara, who was wearing the number 1 jersey vest, couldn't help but curl her lips subconsciously after seeing their expressions. She doesn't doubt the basketball prowess of the boys in the basketball department. She just felt that they were so embarrassed just standing in front of her, so how could they be embarrassed to show their strength in a competition later? Don't be soft-hearted and look down on her just because she's a beautiful girl. We have been practicing very hard under the sun every day for these days, okay? While random thoughts appeared in Sakakihara Suzu's mind, she looked at her teammates. Tianhai's Higsu is particularly serious. Kateno Sakai, who is a bit timid. Tianhai Kaimingyu, who had a poker face throughout the whole process. And the very enthusiastic Tianhai Julie Yulai. There is nothing else to say. Tianhai's Higsu looks very serious, as if he is preparing for the battle. Seeing that little expression, Sakakihara Suzu was a little moved. Why is she so serious? Hello, I am the director of the basketball club, Makino Yang. I am the center in the team. Nice to meet you. Hello. Kishano Sakai. The self-introduction session was ordinary, and everyone just got to know each other's names. In fact, Julie Yulai and the others don't need to introduce themselves, as long as they are boys from Mingde Elementary School, they all know them. And when it's the last couple's turn to introduce themselves, it's a bit interesting. At least that's what Suzu Sakakihara thinks. She saw her brother and sister Kyo standing face to face. Both were looking at each other. They all had no expression. Their calm eyes revealed their dislike and disdain for each other. The two faced each other. Time passed slowly, and everyone's eyes focused on the two of them, who were still staring at each other. Who did I think it was? Why, you can't even introduce yourself. Before asking others to introduce themselves, it is basic etiquette to introduce self first. If someone still has a self, there is no harm in doing so. But it is obvious that someone now is worse than a zombie exuding a putrid smell. How can someone who can even deny his own emotional foundation talk about me as a walking zombie? If you can't even complete what you promised, how can you say that you are not a walking zombie? Are there any conflicts between these two people? Makino Yang lowered his voice and asked in a low voice to the captain of the girls' team, Tianhai Jurili. Tianhai Julie Yulai responded helplessly. Makino-san, don't worry too much. This situation has been going on for a long time. It looks like that. Just looking at this momentum, I wonder if Sakakibara will target Amami Nanamajetsu-san later. Don't look at me like that. I just said nonsense. Asterisk. Even regardless of gender, there is a huge gap between the two teams. On one side are boys who have been immersed in basketball for several years. On one side is a girl who has just started playing basketball. The basketball club's team is still well trained, but the girls' team can only be described as chicks who have just debuted. Although the boys were already very aggressive, they still had a huge score difference. 2 quarters, that is, the entire first half, led to a total of 33 points. A full 33 points. When the minister saw this situation, he became very anxious. He kept secretly shouting to his teammates, "Be gentle, be gentle." Intermission. Although this is not an official open competition. But there was a gap of more than 30 points in one half, and anyone who saw it would be in a bad mood. Only Tianhai Julie Yulai was optimistic, comforting and encouraging everyone. Raku Sakakihara held the basketball and watched them gathering together to discuss strategies from a distance, feeling that they were pure novices now. The point guard in July is barely adequate and has a good view of the overall situation, but his physical strength is too low and he has more than enough energy. Yuki is a shooting guard, but to be honest, his shooting percentage is not that good and he needs to practice more. Sakai Kateno is really good at playing. She is a bit weak in personality, but she can make decisive decisions on the court. Lee Yulai. Lee Yulai needs no introduction. If they hadn't been restricting Lee Yulai's performance throughout the game and they were trying their best to pass the ball to Lee Yulai, there really wouldn't be such a big score gap. Well, overall, the gap of 33 points was definitely a bit cold in the first half, but it still couldn't extinguish their confidence in participating in the game. Fujino Yoshiyuki, sweating a little, brought a bottle of drink that Ruri had just given him and came to sit down next to Sakakibara Raku. He talked about the football match just now, and he couldn't help but complained in a low voice. Sakakihara, you really don't let yourself go at all. That's not necessary. Sakakihara shook his head. A person as powerful as Julie Yulai has been restricted to death by you. He can't get through you. Every time he shoots, you have to buckle him. With their strength, they may have a strategy to pass the ball to Lee Yulai desperately. Since I can think of it, why can't their opponents think of it? It's good to take advantage of this, but if they are targeted, they will lose miserably. That's what I say, but I feel that not many girls can restrain Kuruuri. I feel like you are targeting them, Sakakihara. Sakakihara smiled, but did not deny it. This is called necessary growth. They want to win the championship among girls, and they have to train in such a short period of just over a month. How can they not put some pressure on them? If they can't bear it, it can only mean that they are not suitable. Fujino Yoshiyuki then thought about it carefully. That's right, after all, they have only been exposed to basketball for a short time. But tell me the truth, did you have a fight with Nanami Minjio, that's why you targeted her so deliberately? This is nonsense. Sakakibara looked at the time, put down the half-drunk drink in his hand, and suddenly stood up. The break is about to end, so get ready to continue the second half and see if there are any changes in their policy, or if they need to play a few more rounds before they wake up. Okay. Fujino Yoshiyuki looked at the back of Sakakihara Raku walking forward, patted his butt and sat up. The second round is the second half. Sure enough, their team relaxed their strategy a little, and Lee Yulai gave more and more scoring opportunities to Zhigzhu. In addition, the pressure from other basketball club members was not as strong as Sakakibara's, and the score narrowed the gap slightly. Even if it is still a drop in the bucket. However, this is just a practice match, and scoring is not particularly important. The important thing is that every time Zhigzhu scores a goal, she will be praised by Lee Yulai and others, which makes her face inadvertently put a smile on her face. Others did the same after scoring, and even gave each other high fives with joy. Sakakihara Raku saw it. I thought, this is the fun in suffering, right? Even if the score is insurmountable, you will still be happy because of a goal scored. After thinking about it for a while, Sakakihara shook his head decisively. He felt that maybe he was thinking too much. Maybe they would just shoot a ball in the second half and treat it as a target for training. It's not a formal game, it's not that heavy. However, no matter what, the smile on the face of Tianhai's Zhigzhu, who made the goal while being chased and intercepted, was indeed the result of sweat and hard work. Asterisk. Really, I don't know how to spare us. After school, locker room. Dissatisfied, Suzu Sakakihara took off her sweatshirt and number 1 jersey back clip. She turned over her arm and stared at the bruise on it where her brother had hit her with a ball. Suzuki-chan, are you okay? Chitano Sakai asked with concern after seeing it. How can it be okay? Sakakihara Suzu pouted and gently touched the black and blue swelling on her arm. It hurt so much. Okay. Let me see. Well, it hurts all the time. Tianhai Julie Yulai took a closer look and said seriously, go back and apply ointment. It's just a slight bruise. Lejun probably didn't do it on purpose. I think he did it on purpose. Not only against me, but also against Sister Lee Yulai, you and Yuki. Especially Yuki. I feel like I'm being suffocated by him, but Sister Kyo didn't take much aim at him. Suzu Sakakibara intentionally approached Amami Nanami Mingzuki, who had just taken off her sweatshirt, hugged her thin white arms, and said with a smile, "Hey, Sister Kyo, my brother is the only one who didn't target you. Tell me, is it because he still cares about his feelings and feels that he is sorry for you, so he deliberately treats you well? Ling, Bell, come here quickly. What's wrong?" Amami Nanami didn't respond, but Amami Kuruori was so anxious that she pulled Sakakibara Suzu to the corner of the locker room. The smile on Sakakibara Suzu's face has not disappeared. In Tianhai Julie Yulai's view, although Suzu-chan is sincere, her smile and what she is saying are indeed heartless. Why did Sister Lee Yulai drag me away? Tianhai Julie Yulai opened his mouth and hesitated for a long time. In the end, he couldn't explain what he said. He just tried his best to smile. "Suzuki-chan, please stop talking now." "Why? What you said will make Kyo look more and more like." "No need." Tianhai Kaimingyu's plain voice interrupted the exchange between the two. She put on her school uniform and tied a bow on her collar. His expression didn't change at all. The action was decisive and swift. "He did this to make me feel comfortable. I don't need any special attention from this guy." After Tianhai Kaimingyu said this, she put on her clothes, picked up her school bag, and walked out of the locker room resolutely. Sister July. Although Tianhai's Higsu didn't quite understand it, she still saw that the figure of Chi Minjiao leaving alone had some different meanings, and wanted to call her to stop her. "Fine." Tianhai Julialai put her hand on Tianhai's Higsu's shoulder, pulled her, and said comfortingly, "It's just that Kyo likes to be independent these days. Going to see her too much will disturb her." "Did Sister Kyo go back to the hotel?" Tianhai's Higsu turned around and asked. Tianhai's Higsu was still looking at the place where Tianhai Kaimingyu disappeared, and murmured, "I have always wanted to talk to Sister Kyo alone. There will be opportunities." Amami Kuruori saw the big white flower on the back of Amami Nwayuki's head and knew that it was made by Sakakibara Raku himself to hide her ugliness. She doesn't quite understand what kind of mentality she is in right now. "I just feel that Sakakibara can take care of the people he also wants to take care of, so he doesn't feel uncomfortable. At least, Zhigsu really likes her sister, and she wants her to be happy, right?" Of course, she didn't ignore Chi-Chi's position. It's natural for her to be angry. Sakakibara Suzu was chatting with Sakaichi Diano for a while, and suddenly asked this side. "By the way, Sister Lee Yulai, how will you arrange future practice?" In the future, Tianhai Julie Yulai carefully recalled the matters discussed this afternoon. There will be competitions every 2 days, and the rest of the time we will arrange practice by ourselves. 2 days apart? That's okay, Sakakibara Suzu breathed a sigh of relief. "If I had to fight with that guy every day, he could beat me to death." "He feels sorry for you, Ailing." Tianhai Julie Yulai turned back to Tianhai's Higsu and said, "We will practice every day from now on, and there will be many opportunities for contact. Higsu wants to talk to Kyo alone, how about I help make arrangements?" Then, thank you Sister Lee Yulai. You're welcome. Higsu has long wanted to contact Chi-Chi alone. Tianhai Julie Yulai is also willing to help her. After all, the conflict between Kyo and Lejun is largely due to Higsu. Properly resolving the current relationship between Higsu and Kyo can also help the two of them. Nothing else, just today's Lejun. Tianhai Julie Yulai always feels like he is intentionally motivating everyone to move forward. Why is that? And should I say that I don't like July, or am I deliberately neglecting him? Something feels weird somewhere. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. About the fact that I unintentionally raised my sister to be a cripple. Author, Wo Buletin 11 Huan Tiu Lan. Chapter 440. Brother. The toilet is blocked. Dot. Brother. Brother. With a towel on her head, Sakakibara Suzu stuck her head out and called to the living room several times but got no response. She had no choice but to tighten the towel around her body and walk out wearing Crocs. Old. Seeing that there was only a TV playing in the living room, Sakakibara Suzu wanted to look towards the bedroom again, but at the moment she turned back, she caught a glimpse of Sakakibara Raku lying on the sofa. What? Brother, you're not at home, why didn't you reply? Sakakibara stared at the TV, lazily grabbed a melon seed and put it into his mouth with a click. Did you poop in the shower again? Dot. Sakakibara Suzu was immediately silenced by his words. Can't you put it more politely? Pooped in the shower again. It sounds even worse, okay. Suzu Sakakibara grabbed his arm and tried to drag him to the toilet. Brother, go and take a look. The toilet is blocked and the water can't be flushed. Sakakibara's head was shaken by his sister's tug, but his eyes remained on the TV program. You should deal with it yourself when you go to the toilet. Handle it yourself? I can't. I've been helping you clean the toilet since you were little, and I've taught you no less than 10 times that it's time to try to work on your own. And what if I'm no longer here? Raku Sakakibara turned his head and looked at Suzu Sakakibara, who only wore a white bath towel around her upper body, with her shoulders exposed. Sakakibara Suzu didn't like what he said, so she continued to pull his arm, and said, Why are you not here? Why aren't you here? Even if I die, I will have to follow you. Besides, won't I find someone to clear the toilet? You want the whole world to know that your idol pooped at home and blocked the toilet. Who told you this? Brother, come on, come and help me. Not going. Sakakibara Raku pulled her hand away with such force that Sakakibara Raku even bumped into the sofa. The fall hurt her so much that when she got up, her face was bulging with anger. Sakakibara Suzu stared at her brother's side face, feeling particularly unhappy. If you don't help, I won't help. Can't you just talk nicely? I'll get through it myself. Dot. Sakakibara Raku didn't respond at all. He continued to crack melon seeds and watch TV. The sound of flushing water kept coming from the direction of the toilet. About 15 minutes later, someone came over in despair. Quite frustrating. No way. Sakakibara glanced sideways at her, then raised his knees and stood up. Follow me. When he came to the toilet, Sakakibara glanced at the condition of the toilet and grabbed the toilet pusher that was resting on it. Find the correct position, push in, slowly pull back, and push in again. With a swipe, it was connected. Sakakibara reached out and pressed the flush button of the toilet without saying a word the whole time. Sakakibara Suzu poked her head to the side, and at the same time observed Sakakibara Raku's expressionless face. Brother, you can figure it out in one go, why do you have to work on it alone for so long? As I said just now, you have to do some things yourself. Don't always count on me. You are my brother. Your brother can't stay with you forever. Aling, you have to learn to take care of your own life. Don't get into trouble when the time comes. After putting away the toilet pusher, Sakakibara put these words aside and walked back to the living room. What's going on? Sakakibara Suzu only felt that her brother was very weird after returning home. In the past, if I begged him a few times, he would come to help me. Now why did he wait until I couldn't solve it before helping me? His tone and expression are not as energetic as before. Like flowers that have been left for a long time, they fade away. Sakakibara Suzu walked out of the toilet, looked into the living room, and saw Sakakibara Raku lying back on the sofa like a fat middle-aged uncle. That's strange. Didn't you secretly reconcile with Sister Liuli? Why do you still look unhappy after you go home? It's normal at school. Asterisk. Since the end of the semester is approaching, the whole school has become particularly active. This is how Tianhai Kaimingyu feels. Whether they are students preparing for the final exam or students focusing on the sports festival after the exam, they are all working hard. She doesn't like sports, but he promised her sister that they would participate in basketball games together, so she must continue. The thing that she hates most during basketball practice, apart from forgetting to apply sunscreen and leaving her hands bald, is that every 2 days she sees a face that she never wants to see again in her life. For him, Tianhai Kaimingyu no longer wanted to waste any more words. When you see it, just ignore it. What worries Tianhai Chi Minjiu even more is that her sister Julie Yulai sometimes disappears for a moment or suddenly in the afternoon. Tat tat, boom, boom, boom. July. Tianhai Chi Minjiu reached out to stop her sister's basketball from midfield and stood there. What's wrong? Amamai Kuriyuri, who was covered in sweat, ran over, and the other 3 panting people, Sakakibara Suzu, Amamai Yuki, and Sakai Chidano, followed him. Well. The exhausted Tianhai Kaimingyu sighed helplessly, don't you even look at what time it is now. Tianhai Julie Yulai looked up and found that the setting sun had long gone, replaced by the blue night sky and the crescent moon hidden in the clouds. The street lights outside the campus have already turned on, and only 2 students from the track and field department are left on the entire playground, still working hard on the track. It seems a little late. Not only is it a bit late, there are only a few of us left in the entire playground. If we don't leave, the security will come and drive us home. Tianhai Julie Yulai, who was dripping with sweat, walked to the basketball hoop, picked up the mobile phone that was placed with everyone, and looked at the time. She stared at the timestamp on the screen, surprised. It's already 9:30? We've been fighting for 6 hours. Otherwise, Tianhai Chi Minjiu didn't like her sister's state of exercise, because once she started exercising, it was easy for her to lose track of time and make herself completely exhausted. Tianhai Julie Yulai raised his arms to stretch and said with a smile, it did take a long time, but the effect is very obvious, isn't it? You can already play basketball with us for 6 hours in July. Tianhai Kaimingyu did not deny it, this is indeed a fact. This is obvious progress. July. Ever since we lost to the boys from the basketball club twice in a row, our progress has been really rapid. This is also true. It is undeniable that after practicing against that group of experienced people, the strength of this team has improved exponentially. Experience, skills, coordination. Understand the strengths and weaknesses of teammates and apply them in the game. To be complacent, Tianhai Chi Minjiu believes that next time she competes with the boys in the basketball club, the score will be at most 20 points behind. Sakakihara Suzu came over with Sakai Chidano. She was holding the empty water bottle she had just finished drinking in her hand. She was also covered in sweat and looked exhausted. I suddenly felt that agreeing to my brother's participation in this basketball game was the worst decision I made in my life. I am so tired every day, ugh. Sakai Kateno supported her, it goes without saying that Suzu-chan. Suzu-chan has made great progress. At least her physical fitness is much better than that of most girls now. That's right. Tiano, you don't look weak at all when playing basketball. Why? You usually look weak. Really, Sakaichi Diano responded softly, I think my strength is average. You have good physical fitness. Did you participate in any sports events in school when you were in elementary school? It's nothing like that. I just practiced shot put. Because of this, I practiced a lot of physical fitness. Shot put? I can't tell where it is. First place in the county competition. Sakeki Hara Suzu. In Japan, prefecture equals province. A few people chatted for a while, then took the basketball and started walking towards the locker room next to the gymnasium. Compared with the fact that Tiano is actually a shot put player, Tian Haikimingyu is more concerned about the fact that her sister will disappear recently. Sister. July. The two opened their mouths at the same time, then stopped at the same time, and looked at each other. Tian Haijuli Yulai smiled and said, "Let's talk about it in Kia first." Sister, tell me first. Okay then, let me talk first. Tian Haijuli Yulai pondered for a moment, then hugged the basketball and looked up at the night sky with dots of stars. I don't really want to hide the fact that I haven't told you in Kia these days, because I need to understand the relationship between you first. I can now tell you my attitude in Kia. I reconciled with Lejun a few days ago. Oh. Huh, Tian Haijuli Yulai was very surprised. You don't have any more expressions in Kia. I feel it vaguely. That's right. Whatever I want to hide, I can't hide it from you in Kia. But aren't you angry in Kia? Why are you angry? Tian Haikimingyu asked. Because I didn't stand on the same side as you. Instead, I went with the person you hate the most. Tian Haikimingyu shook her head, expressionless. This is my sister's choice. She can do whatever she wants. I can only give suggestions, not make decisions. Chi-Chi's enlightenment on this point particularly surprised Tian Haijuli Yulai. No matter what that person is, it has nothing to do with me. Well, it turns out he doesn't take Lejun seriously at all. To some extent, this situation is actually worse. Tian Haikimingyu looked at her sister again, but what I'm more curious about is my sister's attitude towards Zhigzhu now. Can my sister accept that Zhigzhu will always be here? Why can't you accept it? Tian Haijuli Yulai asked with a smile. Why is it acceptable? Tian Haikimingyu asked flatly. Then this is a disagreement between us. Regarding Zhigzhu, let me think about it. Tian Haijuli Yulai thought for a moment, and then spoke again. It is similar to the situation when I accepted you in Kia. Since I myself have a relationship with Shui, I like her quite a lot, but I can't stand the pitiful and abandoned look on her, so I just accept it. I can't agree. The basis for my sister's thinking is that she believes that her position in his heart will remain unchanged. But after he agreed to Zhigzhu, it meant that his commitment was loosened. If there is one, there will be two, and it can no longer be convincing. Convince. Tian Haijuli Yulai was analyzing Chi Minjiu's words very seriously. The word convinced is worth thinking about. Well, she nodded, first acknowledging her twin sister's words. I agree with this, but unlike what you think in July, I think this state can be changed in time. What's the meaning? As you said in Kia, what I care about is my position in Lejun's heart. As long as the position remains unchanged, I won't say anything more. But it's not so absolute. I don't like Lejun to go either. Reach out to other women. I think Zhigzhu's status is different. What's the difference? Tian Haijuli Yulai said seriously, the time of Zhigzhu's intervention varies depending on the situation. You can think about it carefully in Kia. When did Zhigzhu come to this home? Ling's birthday. Yes, it's Suzu-chan's birthday. What's the status of the two of us at this time? Quarrels, cold wars, not accepting each other. Lejun is tossing and turning between me and you every day to take care of our feelings. At this time, Zhigzhu came here home. Tian Haikimingyu is not without some thoughts. What sister wants to say is that Zhigzhu has already intervened in our lives before our relationship was fully formed. That's what I mean. Tian Haijuli Yulai nodded. When we were quarreling the most, Lejun has been taking care of Zhigzhu. What's going on with Zhigzhu? You understand, in July, he is a very cute child. The emotion we have been getting along with for so long is Lejun. The reason why you are unwilling to give up Shigsu is also the reason why we are willing to take care of Shigsu and want to be nice to her. And based on this condition, let's go back to the topic just now. Why do I say this can be changed in time? Tianhai Julie Yulai paused, while Tianhai Kaimingyu continued to listen quietly. Shigsu has intervened in our lives a long time ago. He is a special case. If Lejun does anything out of line in the future, naturally, I will leave him. Tianhai Chi Minjiao only found it a little funny. Sister, are you a little too confident in yourself? Do you think you can control a scumbag? I believe in him. Why should I believe it? Why should I believe it? Just because he saved me regardless of past grudges, Chi. I do not believe. Having said this, Tianhai Julie Yulai understood that this conversation was a communication failure, but she was not willing to just give up the opportunity to have a good communication with Kyo. July. Actually, it's okay for Shigsu to be with everyone. You see, weren't everyone happy to be together before? After Lejun brought Shigsu back, he never did anything to her. The distance has become even further than before. This is obviously because Shigsu knows how to restrain her feelings and keep her distance. My sister actually said that. It was Shigsu that my sister caught on the bed. Tianhai Julie Yulai paused for a moment. That's because Shigsu was ignorant and everyone used games to excuse Shigsu, and that's what happened next. Moreover, she sincerely apologized. The 7 bright moons in the sky and sea did not waver. I don't hate Yuki either. Even if she does what she does, I don't think it's too much. It's a personal reason. She has a good nature. She just needs to correct it in time. Then why are you still acting like this in July with Lejun? Because even if I agree to these conditions, I can no longer afford to have my love taken away in a real sense. The 7 bright moons in the sky closed their eyes. However, these are not important anymore, they are all over. He is very wise and does not bother me anymore, so he still has some conscience. Just focus on playing basketball in the near future. I will go change clothes first, and we will have a bowl of noodles in the evening. It's dinner. July. I saw my sister's back walking one step ahead. Tianhai Julie Yulai always felt in his heart that his sister was holding back something, and she was not as indifferent as she appeared on the surface. Sure enough, after such a short period of time, you still can't let go, right? After all, he is the person he has admired for more than 10 years. How is it possible, just let it go so easily? About the fact that I unintentionally raised my sister to be a cripple. Author, Wo Bulletin 11 Huan Tiu Lan. Chapter 441. In the following week, the basketball team followed the training rules of 2 days of practice and 1 day of competition. The growth is visible to the naked eye. Amami no Yuki believes that half of the credit for this is due to everyone's hard work, and the other half is due to Raku Sakakibara, who is particularly serious in every competition. Even though Le did not give any verbal instruction, he taught every detail that few people on the basketball court did not notice, and the detailed skills that few people knew nothing about. Even Tianhai Kaimingyu, who wanted to ignore him completely, could not deny seeing this. Asterisk. Have you noticed in July that Lejun is particularly serious when playing? After the physical education game, the 5 members of the basketball team walked back to the classroom together. Amami Kuruori asked about Nanamajetsu, while Sakeki Harasuzu was immersed in Amami Yuki's key goal that narrowed the score gap to 10 points, and was full of joy. Sister, I remember I said something like asking you not to mention him in front of me. Tianhai Julie Yulai laughed instead. If Kyo has really let go, he should be completely ignored when he hears this name. Simple disgust. At this time, Suzu Sakeki Haru suddenly inserted herself between the two of them from behind and interjected. Do you think my brother is a little strange lately? Tianhai's Higsu blinked, Happiness is normal. Tianhai Julie Yulai, Lejun, haven't you been a little strange lately? It's not that weird, but a new level of weird. A week ago I asked him to flush the toilet, and he only came to help because he saw that I couldn't finish it. This was never the case before. What does this mean? Tianhai Julie Yulai was puzzled. The five of them changed their shoes together and entered the teaching building. I haven't finished talking yet. Also, I often see him secretly in a daze when he is alone. Then as soon as Yuki approaches him, he will immediately change his expression and start laughing. When Sakaki Harasuzu said this, she and Amamai Kuruori looked at Amamai Nazuki who was walking behind her. What's wrong? Suzu Sakaki Hara was the first to ask, Yuki, my brother has been in contact with you a lot recently. What does he usually say to you? Happy to say a lot of encouraging words. What do you encourage me to do? Tianhai's Higsu held the basketball beside her in front of the two of them and said, play basketball. Sakaki Barasuzu and Amamai Kuruori were both silent at first, and then Kuruori seemed to have thought of something, picked up her chin and said. No wonder I always feel that Yuki is more confident and plays basketball more proactively. Sakaki Harasuzu jumped out immediately, nodded in agreement and said. Yes, yes. Yuki was really fierce just now. He connected with two boys and then jumped in the air. Wow, he is so handsome. Tianhai's Higsu showed no unnecessary expression after being praised, it's all taught by joy. Even if he is my brother, it is still yours now, Yuki. Tianhai Julie Yulai tried to change the topic, but what does this have to do with the strangeness you said in Ling's mouth? Sakaki Barasuzu hugged Amamai Nazuki, who still had sweat on the side of her face, for a while. When she came to her senses, she thought for a moment. Well, it's mainly because the difference in attitude between brother when he is alone and when Yuki is around gives me a sense of dissonance. When he is alone, I always feel that he is a bit like someone who has overindulged. All in a boring state. Tianhai Julie Yulai couldn't help but frown. Lejun secretly drove a sports car out again. I drove out, but Sister Li Yulai, don't get me wrong. My brother doesn't smell like a vixen. That's good. Several people have discussed it up to this point, but they haven't come up with a reason. However, it did make Tianhai Julie Yulai pay more attention to the changes mentioned by Ling. After the last class in the morning, at noon, Amamai Kuruori found Sakaki Bararaku eating alone in the cafeteria. He didn't bring a lunch box, but bought a set lunch from the cafeteria. As soon as Amamai Kuruori approached, Sakaki Bara smiled. This made the girl immediately feel relieved. Fine. Sakaki Bara looked at Amamai Kuruori who was sitting opposite him, smiled and said, what's okay? Ling said you are weird, Lejun. After seeing Lejun's current state, I feel relieved. Does she think I'm weird? Raku Sakaki Hara stopped her chopsticks. Well, maybe it's because I want her to be herself recently. She's already so old, so don't bother me even with washing and hanging clothes. Tianhai Julie Yulai didn't think there was anything wrong, that's right. I relied on Lejun for all the housework in the past. The sports festival is coming soon. You have been practicing for so long and you are still working so hard. Are you confident? Of course. When Tianhai Julie Yulai said this, his attitude was particularly serious. She listed a lot of the seriousness and perseverance that everyone put into practicing. I didn't expect that Julai's physical strength would improve to this extent. In the past, no matter how hard I pulled her, she was unwilling to come out to exercise. The main thing is that she promised Li Yulai that you would participate. For her, commitment is very important. When Amamai Kuruori said this, he suddenly saw Amamai Nanamai sitting on the dining table behind Sakaki Bararaku. Neither Lejun nor Kia found each other. By the way, Lejun, about the July I told you a week ago, Tianhai Julie Yulai raised his voice deliberately. Yaraku Sakakihara said in a patient voice. Tianhai Julie Yulai saw Tianhai Kaimingyu pause for a moment while eating. She seemed to want to leave here with the dinner plate. Luli, Chi-Chi is quite independent now, isn't she? Tianhai Julie Yulai saw his sister stop moving after he said these words. What she has been pursuing is the phantom I gave her in the past, the expectations I gave her in the past. Her expectations are happy and full of longing. But obviously, I cannot satisfy her wishful thinking. Wishful thinking. Behind Sakakibara Raku, Amamai Nanamajetsu spoke, and her voice did not fluctuate at all. Someone is extremely arrogant. Sakakihara Raku heard the voice behind him and did not look back. I don't know who has been emotionally arrogant. Isn't that what you should be doing? Yes, it should be. But it is undeniable that I am really tired, July. I don't want to be tired of dealing with your too heavy feelings anymore. Since you don't approve of my sympathy for Zhigzhu, it is best to separate. Choice. As for the promise I made to you, to be honest, it was just a compromise I made to deceive you. A long silence. Too much. This is really too much. Tianhai Julie Yulai felt very uncomfortable when he heard this. If it were another woman, she would probably pick up a box of lunch and put it directly on Sakakibara's head. But Kaimingyu didn't. She is not this kind of person, she doesn't even have any ups and downs. There was even a hint of ridicule on the delicate face. Haha, before I did this, I might have been disturbed by your words. Not now. This is best. It's just to see what kind of person you are. Tianhai Kaimingyu picked up the dinner plate alone, stood up, and walked to the dining table farthest from him. Tianhai Julie Yulai watched his sister's back go away. She returned her gaze to Sakakihara Raku's face in front of her. She found it difficult to understand and at the same time extremely confused. Lejun. Why would Lejun say such things to Kyo? It's true, isn't it? I don't believe it. Just, can't you say something to relax? She doesn't completely let go in Kyo. Do you think she hasn't completely given up now? She just hasn't given up on the phantom in her heart. In an instant, Tianhai Julie Yulai smelled a hint of ruthlessness. This is weird. Very, very weird. Because during the competition, Tianhai Julie Yulai clearly saw that Lejun also took care of Kyo. This is completely different from Lejun's current attitude towards Kyo. Did the two of them really let go? Don't you care about each other anymore? At this time, she had no idea what Sakakihara Raku had in mind. Is my attempt to bring the two of them into contact really effective? Asterisk. Tianhai Julie Yulai's question was answered the next day. There are still 3 days until the sports festival officially begins. Similarly, in order to verify the progress made by the basketball team over the past 2 days, the competition continued. Amamai no Yuki dribbled continuously and went straight under the opponent's basket, but was stopped by Makino Yang with a smile inside the three-point line. Yuki! Yuki! This way! Sakakihara Suzu immediately shouted loudly. But in fact, there was no need to be so loud at all. Amamai Yuki, who had learned to act by ear in countless practices, quickly passed the ball to Sakakihara Suzu outside the three-point line. Okay. Suzu Sakakihara caught the ball outside the three-point line, jumped up, and made a one-handed shooting motion like a boy, with her hair swaying. There was a bang sound, and the goal was obviously very cool, but it was dunked on the spot by Raku Sakakihara, who suddenly appeared. Brother, you. Sakakihara Suzu was shocked and annoyed. Before she could react, her brother's low dribbling as fast as lightning began to fly on the court. In less than a moment, he dribbled the ball towards his own basket and passed the midline. Tiano. She quickly called to center Sakai Chitano, who was standing over there to defend, but the most difficult one among all the boys was Sakakihara Raku's attack. He dribbled the ball several times in a row, feinted forward to change direction, and blocked Sakai Chisano's side with his side body, and advanced with the ball in his left hand. Even though Sakai Chitano was very strong, she was deceived by him in this short moment. Other students standing on the field watching the game couldn't help but complain after seeing it, thinking that this guy Raku Sakakihara takes girls too seriously. I don't know how to show mercy or cherish Jade. Chia, chirp. The sneakers scraped against the floor. The time has come to the last 5 minutes of the first half, the score is 20-9, and their goal is to pull the score within 10 points. If Sakakibara is allowed to score 2 or 3 points, the second half of the game will become difficult. Tianhaijuli Yulai was too far away and it was too late to defend. We can only place our hope on the last line of defense. July. Sakakibara Raku was blocked by Amami Nanamayu again. Should it be said that this weak girl has also grown up? He was actually stopped by her for a few seconds, but he couldn't deceive her with his feints. Taking advantage of this gap, Suitano and Yuki quickly ran to defend themselves. 3 people are defending themselves. In a situation like this, passing the ball to a teammate in a better position is the best way to handle it now. Therefore, he decisively chose to throw the ball to Minister Makino Yang, who was following closely. Okay. He took the ball, suddenly changed direction, and sprinted toward the basket. However, he was defended by Sakakihara Suzu, who followed closely. In fact, Makino Yang could completely break through Sakakibara Suzu, but when he thought that forcing her to break in might cause her injury, he decisively chose to pass the ball to other teammates when Amami Yuki and Tiano came to defend him. Quick! Quick! Return to defense. July, return to defense. The ball was passed back to Makino Yang again, and he quickly ran towards the basket, but was always defended by Tianhaijulai. Julai's strength was very strong, and Makino Yang's rhythm was a little out of control. In an instant, he saw Raku Sakakihara, who had a gap in the defense at the other end. With many years of basketball experience, he decisively passed the ball to Sakakibara Raku. However, because Suzu Sakakihara slightly touched the basketball when she released her hand, the trajectory of the ball was slightly deflected. The ball flew towards the 7 bright moons in the sky and sea. Sakakibara. Catch it quickly. Makino Yang's instinct of not wanting to lose points forced him to shout anxiously. The situation was extremely anxious. Amami Nanamajetsu saw the ball coming quickly. She knew this was an opportunity. She was full of energy and jumped up. However, at this moment, Sakakibara Raku broke through the defense and jumped at the same time. The two took off at the same time, but due to the size difference, they were pushed away by Sakakihara Raku on the spot. Tianhaichi Minjiu instantly lost her center of gravity, immediately lost control of her steps, and fell down after landing. She felt like her ankle was sprained, and a sharp pain hit her. Then, someone grabbed her wrist. The ball instead fell to the floor alone. As soon as the whistle blew, the game ended. Tianhaijuli blinked and looked at the scene with some curiosity. Sakakibara grabbed Amami Nanamajetsu's right wrist and lifted it up to help her stand firm. Don't get me wrong, I don't want you to get hurt. I can tell. Tianhaikimingyu, who then reacted, stood firm and pinched the wrist of his right hand with his left hand. The two of them were back to back, and the conversation between them was fleeting. It was as if saying one more word to each other was too much. Amami Kuruori came over at this time, smiled at Sakakibara and said, "Isn't this great?" Sakakibara didn't want to get involved at all. "I'm just worried that your point guard will get injured before the game. I'm not taking care of her. But I don't want the results of practicing with Yururi for so long to go to waste." Tianhaijuli still smiled. "You said it was for me, but the person you saved just now was Kyo. Being saved by him makes me sick." When Raku Sakakihara heard the words behind her, she became even more indifferent and didn't even look at her. I made it very clear. What I am pulling is the result of your hard work. Who would sympathize with a certain ice cube? Who are you calling ice cube? Scold you. Tianhai Kaimingyu was not used to it and stepped hard on the toe of someone's sneakers. Fujino Yoshiyuki and Makino Yang, who were watching, felt pain. It's not unusual for the two of them to quarrel, but this is the first time they do it. What, isn't it right? Another kick. Take back what you said. Ice cubes, ice cubes, ice cubes, ice cubes, ice cubes. Very good. Sakakihara Raku shouted a few times, and Amamai Nanamayu stepped hard. Fujino Yoshiyuki and Makino Yang couldn't bear to watch this scene. In the end, Tianhai Chi Minjiao stepped on her forehead and sweated, but she didn't see any change in this guy's face. Hearing that he was still calling himself an ice cube, she was too tired to pay attention to him anymore. Before leaving, in front of all the students in the gym, he coldly scolded him, a premature ejaculation loser, crossed his arms and walked to the rest area. Wait for the soft-boiled guy with premature ejaculation? As soon as these words came out, Raku Sakakihara immediately felt that Fujino, Minister Makino, as well as Ruri, Suzu, and Tiano were stunned for a moment. Afterwards, Fujino, Director Makino and the boys in the basketball club couldn't help but burst out laughing. You should know that people who come to watch his game include club managers and some little girls who will come to watch Sakakihara Raku's game recently. They also heard the words premature ejaculation weakling thrown by Chi Minjiao in the middle of the scene. For a moment, everyone looked at Raku Sakakibara, who looked embarrassed in the middle. It made Tianhai Juliuli particularly embarrassed. There were also vaguely irresponsible words like Juliuli, do you still tell your sister about things like this, and twin sisters have a good relationship. Ellie, Lejun, Kyo, she didn't mean to tell lies. She did it on purpose. About the fact that I unintentionally raised my sister to be a cripple. Author, Wo Bulletin 11 Huan Tio Yu Lan. Chapter 442. Puff. What are you laughing? Fta. Sorry, I really didn't mean to laugh. Sakakibara Suzu waved quickly, but as soon as she saw Sakakibara Raku's face, she remembered what happened in sports yesterday. Then she laughed again. Well, Sakakihara Raku was used to this old girl's character, but when he saw her like this, he couldn't help but sigh. Ailing, when will you grow up? What? Sakakihara Suzu was not convinced. She walked on the ginkgo slope outside the school while wagging her fingers. I am mature now. My cuteness is top-notch. My strength is top-notch. My charm is top-notch. No matter how you look at it, he is still a stinky little brat. And all these things she said were when she was an idle, ling. At home, she would always be the one who only ate tornado potatoes. It seems like I will never grow up in front of myself. Sakakibara raised his head, looked at the long line of students on the ginkgo slope, looked at the youthful trousers and skirts of men and women, and suddenly felt a little emotional. Has Aling grown from that little kid to what she is now? Brother, why do you always have this expression lately? Yes, Sakakibara looked away from the slope, closed his eyes, and lifted the shoulder bag strap. Of course, Sakakibara Suzu touched Amamai Yuki next to her with her elbow. Does Yuki feel this way? A little bit. Amamai no Yuki moved her gaze to the side of Sakakihara Raku's face next to her. That must be your illusion. Stop talking about me, Ailing, didn't you transform into a voice actor idol a while ago? That's right. Sakakihara Suzu nodded with her arms crossed in a cute and confident manner. She caught her brother's gaze from the corner of her eyes and looked over. She immediately raised her right arm and showed him a one-eyed scissor hand gesture, her purple eyes blinking brightly in the scissors. Brother, have you watched any drama recently? No, not available. Well, it doesn't matter if I haven't watched it. Anyway, it's a TV series I've been dubbing for a while ago. How do I put it? It's a music series, and the theme story is the story of space mecha fighting type Barabara. Is this a musical? Oh, don't interrupt me. Listen to me, the theme is space battle, and the protagonists are 5 girls. The setting of the work is that singing by girls can calm a certain kind of mania. In the story, this is called Tactics Music Group. Macross. Sakakihara Suzu's eyes widened. What? So you know, brother. Then Ailing, you are one of the protagonists. Yes, yes. Sakakibara Suzu nodded hurriedly and clasped her fingers. In order to cooperate with this drama, I and other seniors in the industry formed a virtual idol group of 5 people. The agency and the company will spend resources on this virtual idol group in order to promote the drama. Then we need to go to a real person role-playing show. To sum it up, I will definitely have a concert performance in the near future. Good news. Good news indeed. Unexpectedly, Aling, a young voice actress, could actually officially appear on the stage. Does anyone come to see your newly formed small team? Why not? There can be seniors in the industry in the team. And it's not like I'm unpopular, I'm the newbie king. Budoka. It's not impossible. Besides, the martial arts hall is not a special place. You can rent it for money. Sakakihara Suzu became happy after saying this, and quickly grabbed his brother's hand and said beside him. Will you come to my concert? Will you come to my concert? Why are you in such a hurry? Sakakihara Raku felt that she was a little too excited. It's not like I haven't seen you perform on stage before. I remember you were wearing a lowly skirt. How can this be the same? It was just a small stage to promote the drama offline, but this is a real concert. Okay, Sakakihara Raku hurriedly said to comfort the sister who was jumping with joy beside her. I know you are powerful now. Then you will go and see it, right? You will definitely go and see it, right? Then you should bring Yuki with you too. If the time is not long, I will go. What do you mean it's not too long? I have to come anyway. Let's put Aling's matter aside for now. There is something more important tomorrow, the final exam. In order to officially prepare for the end of the semester, all physical training today has been cancelled. The last class ends in the afternoon. At this time, the wind broke into the classroom, and countless books were blown up on the desks. What's wrong? Raku Sakakihara put the English textbook in his bag and came to his side without even looking at the get out of class, looking at his younger sister who was still a little evasive. Have you been practicing basketball recently? Sakakibara cast a sidelong glance at his sister who was speaking softly next to him, and instantly understood her hidden thoughts. You want to say that because you have been practicing basketball recently, the homework I assigned you is not good at all. Finish. How can you blame me for this? If you don't blame me, who do you blame? As Sakakibara stood up, he sighed again and gave her a slap on the head. Looking at her like this, it's probably because she didn't listen to the lessons during this period. The sports festival itself was scheduled after the final exams. This time was very tight, and she was still lazy. It hurts. Suzu Sakakihara immediately covered her head, feeling pitiful and unconvinced at the same time. Look, I usually only have so much schoolwork, I still have to take care of my career, and I have to promise you I accompany Yuki to participate in basketball games and train for hours every day. I'm exhausted. It's not because of you. The younger sister's voice became more aggrieved and softer as she spoke. This is true. Aling is a very busy girl. She has to memorize scripts and learn textbook knowledge. As a voice actor idol, she has to practice dance on weekends and will also practice ball with everyone in the near future. My fault. It's good to know. What should I do now? I don't want you to be able to play during the summer vacation, and I have to take extra classes and go to work. I'm exhausted. It's definitely too late to review for the exam tomorrow. Raku Sakakibara picked up his school bag and thought for a moment. Let's focus on the questions. Want to be detained again? Otherwise, what else can we do? There are only a few types of questions, and there are only a few questions that are beyond the syllabus. Aling, you are a special admission student, so passing the exam is enough. Sakakihara Suzu pursed her lips. This is feasible, but you have to remember that she was still very famous at the beginning of the semester. Sakakihara understood what she meant, patted her petite back and said. Okay, don't worry about it. You have to practice playing basketball in the near future. If you have no choice, calls Higsu. Let's go to the library together today and I will help you look through the question bank. Fine. Asterisk. The day before the final exam, the library was full of people. When Raku Sakakibara entered the library with Yuki Amamai and Suzu Sakakibara, he faced a very important problem: there was no space. It's okay, Raku Sakakibara glanced at the time on his watch and said, you can just find us to borrow the materials and take them home to write the questions. Amamai no Snow had no objection. She looked at Sakakihara Suzu. Sakakihara Suzu stood on tiptoes and walked around the library like a scout, but she didn't find her location. It's okay to go back, but brother, are you sure the materials you mentioned haven't been borrowed by other students? Can the questions be answered by ordinary people? Only teachers will borrow the backup materials. Students can just practice the same question types. There is no need to abandon the basics. Aling, you don't know how to solve the questions, and you can't remember the knowledge points. Formulas and stuff will make it easier for you to answer questions. Oh. Let's go. Oh. Sakakihara Suzu followed her brother and Amamai Yuki into the library, and searched for the location of the question bank among the stacks of bookshelves that were taller than a person. After crossing 2 areas and more than a dozen bookshelves, on the second floor of the library, several people found a database of real test questions from the school's previous exams that Sakakibara mentioned. Sakakibara kept looking for the label and frowned. Brother, what's wrong? The information is gone. It's a lot missing. It's not easy to answer the question with these. Borrowed by someone. Probably. It just so happens that Tiano and Aunt Zi are on duty at the front desk today. Do you want to ask? Okay. Several people went down to the second floor and came to the front desk on the first floor. Sakai Kateno was doing homework at the front desk and didn't look very busy. As for Amamai Azusa, she was sitting in the corner of the front desk with her long legs crossed, eating a lollipop and checking her phone. Raku Sakakihara selectively ignored his aunt and knocked on the cabinet at the front desk twice to remind Shitano Sakai, who was doing homework inside. The database of real exam questions. I remember it was in Area G. Some were taken away. I looked through and borrowed the materials. Sakai Chisano seriously began to look through the borrowing book, which was thicker than the dictionary. She searched for the borrowing information one by one. This definitely won't work. I don't even know the date of borrowing, so searching through them one by one is equivalent to finding a needle in a haystack. By chance, Tianhaize got bored while scrolling on his mobile phone, so he put down his legs and stretched. She happened to see a few people at the front desk. She first said hello with a smile and asked how Tianhaize Higsu's condition was. Did Yuki remember her sister? No. Oh, you always forget about my sister. By the way, a few people were chatting. Sakai Kishano seemed to suddenly remember something and said to Sakakibara Raku, Teacher Azusa has been working in the library for the past week. She should know more. Sakakibara Raku and Sakakibara Suzu then looked towards Amamai Azusa. Ah! It's a real question bank for the exam. I know a little bit about that. The Daejing guy said that the database does not have electronic files to prevent it from being spread. If you want to borrow it, only teachers or members of the student union have the authority to access it. Sakakihara Suzu glanced at her brother. It took me a long time, but it turns out you don't have the authority to take it away. Tianhaizi hugged her chest, ate a lollipop, and thought carefully. No one usually takes this thing away. It seems that students do new questions every year. As for who has taken away so many question bank materials recently, let me think about it. Tianhaizi thought for a long time. Sakakihara Raku waited for about 7 minutes. Finally, she thought of it. Tianhaizi clenched his right hand into a fist and immediately dropped it on his left palm, and the dim light bulb on his head instantly lit up. Xiao Li Yulai. Sakakibara Raku, what? 3 days ago, I remember it was about 9 o'clock. As you know, because we had to prepare for the sports festival and final exams at the same time, the library closed at 10 o'clock. 3 days ago, that is, after you finished playing basketball, Xiao Liyulai came to my place to pick up a lot of real questions. Sakakibara Raku, Sakakibara Suzu, and Amamayuki looked at each other. This is easy to handle. I'll call Liyulai. While Sakakibara Raku was touching the phone, Amamayazusa was very curious and asked in a low voice, Xiao Li, secretly tell Aunt, did the old man promise you something? He hasn't asked me recently dash. Hey, Liyulai. Tianhaizi, dot. Forget it, the old man has no requirements for him anyway, and now Zhixu has returned to Xiao Li. She can also play basketball now. As a sister, it is enough to see her sister happy. Lu Li. Lejun, the person on the phone seemed to smile slightly. It's really rare. This is Lejun's first active call after we reconciled, right? Is there anything important? Sakakihara told her about the question bank. The question bank that was taken away 3 days ago, that one, I took it? Sakakibara was relieved. Are you done with it? Aling has too many things to do recently. She didn't do much of the homework I assigned her. It's too late for tutoring. I want to use those question banks to help her answer questions. That. How? That question bank is not what I need, I just help others get it. Sakakibara fell into silence. He had a bad feeling. That one was picked up for Kyo, she said she wanted to use it. Sure enough, the hunch came true. Raku Sakakibara put down his phone and told Suzu Sakakibara about the incident. Unexpectedly, this guy burst out laughing again. Is it funny? It's so funny. It's actually at Sister Kyo's place. Brother, have you noticed that many people will look at you specifically today? Ah. Yes. Many people would look at me inexplicably. Especially girls, when they see themselves, they can't help but laugh, and then they giggle and whisper with their besties. Come to think of it, it was probably some bastard who mentioned this on the campus forum. As a result, just 1 day later, almost everyone in the entire school knew him as the premature ejaculation man. Sakakihara Raku doesn't care about these external things. After all, if you are upright, you are not afraid of slanted shadows. Sakakibara decisively picked up the phone and asked Liyulai, who hadn't hung up yet. Can you lend it to me? Probably not. If Lejun wanted to use it in Kyo, she would definitely not borrow it. It seems that Kyo will have to pick up some more materials later. Lie to her. How can this work? Chi will be angry with me. The relationship between us is already very delicate. Sakakihara Suzu was still snickering on the side. How about, brother, I'd better ask Sister Kyo to help me with the questions. She probably won't refuse to help me. Can. Really? Sakakihara Suzu couldn't believe it. After you find her, don't try to find me again. Brother, is this necessary? After all, She is also your girlfriend. Ex-girlfriend. I don't want to see her unless necessary. Then you held her hand yesterday. That's just to prevent your and Higsyu's efforts from going to waste. In just a few days, how can you find a player who will cooperate? Tough mouth. Whatever you say. Then what are you going to do, brother? Because my self-esteem was hurt by Sister Kyo, I don't want to let me go, and there is no question bank. Could it be that brother wants to beg Sister Kyo for me? I'm so touched. Sakakihara Raku was silent and raised his hand, and Sakakihara Suzu was so frightened that he immediately ran away. Even if she doesn't give it to me, I have other ways to get it. Let's do this. Tianhai Julie Yulai on the phone suddenly said, Chi-Chi is currently in the classroom of the Department of Literature, probably reviewing how about I drag her to the library on the pretext of looking for information. There should be a lot of people in the library now, so I will sit over there with you once we meet, it will be easier to talk. Sakakihara Suzu quietly interjected from the side, it's more like a quarrel. I'm different. Before Sakakihara Raku could finish speaking, Amamai Kuruori immediately said. Okay, that's all, bye, 15 minutes at most, I'll drag July down right away. Sakakibara frowned and looked at the hung-up phone. He knew Liulai's idea, which was to push Kyo towards him to create good opportunities. But this made him feel like asking Chi Minjio to do something, which made him very unhappy. Brother. What are you doing again? Raku Sakakihara noticed that his sister was coming over again. I suddenly don't want to help you anymore. If I have this time, I might as well go for a drive. How could this be like this? Let me beg you, when you go home, I will give you a sister benefit that is only given to brothers. What I want to say is that Sister Liulai worked very hard. So what if you work hard? There is a fundamental conflict between Chi-Chi and I. What happened yesterday was just a little farce. Sakakihara Suzu saw that her brother was serious. But she didn't want to dwell on problems that couldn't be solved. Why not ask something interesting? Brother, what Sister Kyo said about you yesterday, is that, don't pull my ears. It hurts. It hurts. Although I really didn't want to admit it, I was in a good mood when a ling, a living treasure, made some noise around me. But that's all. Let's go. Walk for what? Borrow the materials above and ask Ent for permission. What are you borrowing from above? Didn't you hear just now? Chi-Chi is also coming to pick up the rest. Ah. I understand, brother, this is a way to check and balance Sister Kyo, right? Brother, you have become more powerful. Hee. Oh, the stupid girl has become smarter. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. About the fact that I unintentionally raised my sister to be a cripple. Author, Wo Buletin 11 Huan Tio Lan. Chapter 443. Just as Sakakihara Raku expected, Amamai Nanamayuki turned around and left immediately after seeing that Juliulai had brought her here to see him. Hey! Wait a minute, July. When Tianhai Kaimingyu saw her sister coming in front of her, she sighed helplessly, Sister, give me a reason to stay. Tianhai Juliulai immediately smiled and said, didn't you get along well with Lejun in Kyo yesterday? You can't deny that Lejun helped you yesterday in Kyo, right? Tisk. One of the most annoying things in the world, having your life saved by your enemy. It's really troublesome. Tianhai Kaimingyu seems to be more rational than emotional. Not long after her sister said this, she sat down opposite Sakakibara Raku and put down the textbook she was holding. As soon as she sat down, she saw the face of Sakakihara Raku opposite. I don't want to say too much. If you want the information, I can give it to you. But please don't get me wrong. I don't have a good impression of you as a person. I am willing to give it to you just because I don't want to owe a favor to a disgusting person. Sakakibara looked at her eyes, which had not looked at him since she sat down, and refused to let her go. Say it as if I'm begging you. Is not it? Could it be, Raku Sakakibara asked, as for the favor you're talking about, I'm sorry, I've repeated it countless times. It's not you who is being saved. It's just because of the efforts of Yuzuki, Suzu, Ruri, and Tiano that I saved you. All in vain. Do you think I care about you holding my hand? Childish. Who is childish? Both of them spoke sternly and refused to give in to the other. To Tianhai Juli Yulai, it sounded like they were denying each other's position in each other's hearts. The center of the quarrel revolves around two words, disgust. The two of them are talking at each other's throats, but neither of them is convinced by the other, and the quarrel will never end. Therefore, Tianhai Juli Yulai quickly stopped the two of them. Calm down. You guys calm down first of all, Lejun. Tianhai Jurili looked at Sakakibara Raku with a nice smile. Even if you explain it according to the logic just mentioned by Rakujun, Rakujun can't deny that he saved Kyo, right? And Chi-Chi, Tianhai Juli Yulai looked at the twin sister again. No matter how much you deny Chi-Chi, even if you break your own legs, you can't deny that he did help you, right? 7 bright moons in the sky. So. Tianhai Juli Yulai clasped his hands together and said with a smile. Let's all be nice and talk to each other, wouldn't you? Not good. Unnecessary. The two said almost in unison. This made Tianhai Juli Yulai's smile awkward for a long time. It was quiet for a while. That's enough, sister. Nanamai took a shallow breath, slowly opened her sky blue eyes, faced Sakakibara Raku across from her with a straight face, and said calmly. I think it is necessary for my sister to understand the seriousness of this matter and my true thoughts. First of all, I have clearly drawn a clear line with the man in front of me. No matter what his true thoughts are, what he has done cannot be changed. Since what he did is true, he also said his true thoughts about my relationship. So fine. Reconciliation is completely unnecessary. July. Tianhai Kaimingyu stretched out her hand to stop her sister from continuing. Sister, there is absolutely no need to persuade me. As he said, no one is destined in this life. The encounter with this man since childhood and the reunion more than a year ago are just coincidences among coincidences. As for what happened within this year, I admit that I was wrong. My fault was that I saw it wrong, and I saw him wrong. I don't care what my sister thinks, but I can't accept the current situation. At present, the only reason I can stay in school is for my sister's sake. So don't even think about trying to get me into unnecessary contact with him again. I've reached my limit, thank you. If sister, and Ling, agree with my idea and respect my opinion, then please don't arrange any more meaningless meetings like this. He and I will not make any progress. Agree to my request, otherwise, there will be no need to continue talking. Tianhai Kaimingyu said this without any emotion. After finishing speaking, he looked around at the people sitting at this table with extremely serious eyes. It's best this way. Sakakibara Raku had no objection at all. Everyone understands that Chi Minjiu actually said this. It was a complete statement of attitude to Juli Yulai and Sakakibara Suzu. Stop trying to bring her and Sakakibara Raku together, otherwise you'll hit her bottom line. Tianhai Juli Yulai wanted to sigh in her heart. If there is one thing she wants to achieve most right now, it is for them to go back to the time when she and Chi-Chi had just faced their father together. Everyone is relaxed. All very happy. There is no need to fight for anything, and there is no other pressure at all. I am happy to go to school every day. Zhigzhu and Ling are also happy every day. But since Zhigzhu's matter was brought to light, everyone has returned to such unfortunate days. I understand, Tianhai Julie Yulai reluctantly agreed. Sister Li Yulai. There's nothing you can do about it, Ling. Tianhai Julie Yulai shook her head. You've already said that in Kyo, do you understand what she means? Sakakibara Suzu took one more look at Amami Nanamayu and observed that her expression was only indifferent except for indifference. Well, what could she say? Should it be said that Sister Kyo's endurance is not as strong as mine? Even you, Sister Li Yulai, and even Yuki can accept it. My brother said he wanted to take care of Zhigzhu, but Sister Kyo couldn't hold on anymore? Alas, I can only say that everyone has different ideas. Oh well. Sakakihara Suzuya immediately agreed. She knew that Sister Kyo probably guessed that she and Sister Li Yulai were deliberately bringing the two together. Now that the plan is exposed, it will be impossible to do it in the future. That's good, let's get back to the topic. Tenkai Nanamayu looked at Sakakibara Raku again. I don't care about the information. After all, it's not for you, but for Ling. But since you don't admit that this is a favor, please take a photo of the information in your hand and send it to my sister for exchange. I don't have any other use for it. Thanks. Sakakibara Raku has no problem with this. Chi-Chi was able to make things so clear between right and wrong. Apart from the initial quarrel, which was a little over the top, there were no other emotions in it. What does this mean? This shows that Chi-Chi has really let go and is able to face the enemy without being emotional. That's fine. Be good to yourself and everyone. Anyway, from now on, everyone will face the main road and go to one side. Completely fine. That's fine. Tianhai Kaimingyu didn't say another word, stood up, turned around and left. The speed was so fast that Tianhai Julie Yulai had no chance to say anything to her. Is this really good? In the quiet but crowded library, the air was silent for about 5 minutes, and Raku Sakakihara heard what his sister asked him. Sakakihara Raku still had his normal expression and answered as expected. So much the better. Brother, are you serious about giving up Sister Kyo? I'm tired. It's boring. It's not a matter of persuading him, it's also not a matter of not persuading him. Sakakihara Suzu doesn't know what she should say. Yuki couldn't get in the conversation at all. Luli, sister. She still wanted to try. So, Tianhaiju really looked at Sakakibara Raku again and asked him in a low voice, Raku-kun. Sakakihara Raku immediately replied. Okay, Li Yulai, you don't have to persuade me. Didn't I make my words very clear that day? Those words were just a compromise made to coax out of sympathy for Kyo. Isn't what you want to see most in July is what it looks like now? There is no need to rely on me anymore, and there is no need to chase back that unfounded phantom. She can be herself, and she can also put her focus and pursuit on herself. Isn't this what Li Yulai, as your sister, most wants to achieve in July? Lejun, this is an undeniable fact, isn't it, Li Yulai? After leaving me in July, not only did she have more time, she was able to read her favorite books alone every day. She no longer had to compromise for my sake, and she also made arrangements for me in advance. Learn to manage family property. It's not that she's not good looking, there are many people who like her and love her more than me. The relationship is over. From now on, she and I will be strangers who dislike each other. Sakakibara finished the sentence in a calm voice, and then looked at Amami Yuki who was sitting in the corner of the small table, unable to say anything. Yuki. Ah. I'm here, Raku. Amamizuki raised her head. As long as Sakakibara Raku spoke, she would listen very carefully. As you can see, Chi Minjiu is not angry with you. After going through so much time and so many things, she also has her own choices. So there is no need to blame yourself for what happened between July and me. We will take the exam tomorrow and prepare for the opening ceremony of the sports festival the day after tomorrow. Come on, I still value your efforts these days. I also believe that you yourself have found something of your own through the persistent efforts you make every day. After saying that, Sakakibara raised his watch and glanced at the time. Aling, Ji Shui, go home today. Li Yulai should send me the information through pictures later. Although it is a little blurry compared to the actual material, it is definitely enough. Li Yulai, I will leave first. If you want to move back home, you are welcome at any time, and I also have something to say to you. Huh? Oh. It wasn't until Sakakibara Raku stood up and put all the information into his skull bag that Sakakihara Suzu took a while to react. He quickly picked up his skull bag, grabbed Zyuki's wrist, said goodbye to Sister Ruri with a smile, and hurriedly followed. Only Tianhai Julie Yulai remained in his original position. She watched several people leave. Well, I don't know why, I just want to sigh. It's certainly a good thing that Chi-Chi can take more care of herself and think about herself. But, isn't this too independent? The feeling that Tianhai Kaimingyu gives her now is no longer the sister she once had who had to get Lejun. Moreover, the words Lejun said were so sincere in tone and attitude that they seemed to be sincere. But, based on my understanding of Lejun, and my understanding of him as a person, Lejun, absolutely, never would say such words to Kyo. Even if you are angry, you won't be in a state of extreme anger every day, right? Lejun, why did he say those words to Kyo? Can't figure it out. Amamai Kuruori couldn't figure out Sakakibara Raku's recent actions anyway. Perhaps, Lejun really only has an explanation for feeling tired in July. Asterisk. Go home in the evening. Sakakihara Raku didn't mention anything about July again. Instead, he started to help Sakakihara Suzu in earnest to summarize past questions and find patterns to solve the questions. 11:30 in the evening. After finally reciting several big questions, Sakakihara Suzu lay limp on the small table, clutching her belly. So hungry. Sakakibara looked at the time and said, do it yourself. If you don't want to do it, just have it delivered. We have overtime delivery here and it will be here soon. Huh? Brother, you don't cook. It's too late, Yuki won't eat either. It's too troublesome to do it just for you, so I won't do it. Sakakihara Suzu muttered, saying that my brother would never say such things before. She put her fleshy face on the small table that was cooled by the air conditioner, raised her head sideways, and looked at her brother. Brother, tell me, why are you encouraging Zhigzhu to play basketball so much recently? She has been training desperately for the past month, just to win a championship. Before answering this question, what do you think Zhigzhu lacks most? Delicious snacks. Sakakibara looked like you're hopeless and then explained. What Zhigzhu lacks most is herself. She has been denied since she was a child, denied by her father, denied by her sisters, and even forgotten and denied by herself. Do you know why Zhigzhu gets sick whenever she leaves my side? Sakakihara Suzu thought for a while, because I like you enough. This is just one aspect. The most important thing is that she has never been recognized. She has never been taken seriously. Even if there is, Grandpa's concern is very urgent and short-lived, and the contact is not deep. After a few days, Snow will forget. Sakakibara took a shallow breath. Growing up, the people she came into contact with always wanted to abandon her and ignore her, and now she is willing to abandon herself. Under this premise, what Zhigzhu needs most is always only one thing, self. What I want now is for her to work hard at basketball so that she can achieve something she has achieved through her own hard work. It doesn't matter if she doesn't win the championship, she has done her best. That's why I encourage Zhigzhu to stick with basketball. So, that's it? After listening to her brother's words with a vague understanding, Sakakihara Suzu finally understood why her brother was so serious when treating Zyuki. Zhigzhu still needs his encouragement. The effect is significant. Anyway, Zhigzhu has been playing more and more proactively and confidently recently. Many of them were made under her leadership. In the past, Sakakihara Suzu never dared to think about this. Then why are you not so serious about me and Yuki recently? We are all your sisters after all, so why don't you take it seriously? Ring Sakakihara's tone suddenly became serious. What's wrong? Sakakihara Suzu also became heavy. What I've done to Yuki, I've done to you countless times, right? You've already created your own independence and your own career before Zhigzhu, right? Sakakihara Suzu met his eyes. Brother, why are you talking like that? It's nothing, if I have to say it. I'm very happy to see you grow from a little kid who only cried and wanted to be hugged by his brother to now being able to stand alone. Sakakihara Suzu propped herself up from the table. Brother, what are you doing? You talk like you are my dad. Isn't that right? I've been pulling you up since you were little, and your brother has to carry it on your back when you go to school. Sakakihara looked at his sister's unique purple eyes and suddenly laughed. I actually really want to see your concert, Ling. Come on, there's an exam tomorrow, and the sports festival starts the day after tomorrow. About the fact that I unintentionally raised my sister to be a cripple. Author, Wo Bulletin 11 Huan Tiu Lan. Chapter 444. Chapter 440 Tianhai's Higsu will eventually believe in herself one day. Boom boom. Knocking. What? Wearing summer pajamas, with her hair pulled back and a rabbit headband on her head, Suzu Sakakibara poked her head out of the room. Still wearing a pale facial mask. What are you doing? I was just getting ready to go to bed. I have final exams tomorrow. Before Sakakibara Raku could say anything, Sakakibara Suzu immediately saw the food on the plate in her brother's hand. She blinked her eyes, and her mouthful expression suddenly broke into a smile. Night snack. Otherwise, you are still my brother. Without thinking, Suzu Sakakihara snatched the plate of fried ice cream from his hand, picked up a piece and put it in her mouth to eat. Then she looked at him, a little happy and a little dissatisfied. What you just said was that I was told to do it myself, didn't you still do it for me? Sure enough, the old man I saw just now was all an illusion. During this time, he was just arguing with Sister Kyo and getting angry. Come on. Sakakibara knew that she was thinking in the wrong place, and sighed, I just feel that you all have a lot to do tomorrow and the day after tomorrow, and you need a little encouragement. You just want to be nice to me. What excuses are you looking for? You mean what you say? Humph. Sakakihara Suzu didn't believe what he said, so she picked a small piece of ice cream and threw it into her mouth, and said at the same time, tough mouth. Believe it or not, Sakakibara didn't want to explain too much. Where's Higsu? Fried ice cream, brother, why don't you ask her to come over and eat it together? Sakakibara glanced at the time on his watch. 11:13 p.m. She is still downstairs in the basketball court nearby. The phone cannot be reached. I am about to call her. Sakakihara Suzu's eating movements froze in mid-air, and she blinked. She's still practicing. That is if she didn't run off to do something else halfway through. It's really hard work. Sakakihara Suzu muttered softly. That's it, you eat slowly, review the questions given to you after eating, and then go to bed early. No problem. Seeing his sister's energetic response, Sakakibara nodded without saying anything more. After loading a few things, he took the elevator downstairs. Asterisk. Nights in big cities are filled with busyness. Even when walking on a stretch of road without street lights, the countless high-rise buildings in the distance are as bright as stars. Full of prosperity. Raku Sakakibara crossed the road and came to a court next to the park. Bang bang. Bang bang. Boom. The sound of basketball reached his ears clearly. Raku Sakakibara looked up and found Yuki Amami playing basketball. She dribbles the ball quickly and runs toward the basket, moving with clean and powerful moves even though her height is not that advantageous. The basketball accurately passed through her arm, bounced off the plastic floor and was held in her hands, then jumped upwards into the air. The ball went in. Quite a nice shot. Sakakihara couldn't help but stop and watch outside the wire fence of the stadium. After the ball was scored, Tianhai's Hixu did not stop. Bang bang. Bang bang. Bang bang. The sound of dribbling was uninterrupted, and the basketball in her hand flew toward the basket again and again, as if guided by fate. Sweat dripped down her arms, along her elbows, to the light blue sneakers under her feet. Bold and quick. At her level, the progress was so rapid that Sakakihara Raku couldn't believe that this was the gesture she could show. Happy. Amami no Yuki caught the ball and found Sakakibara Raku standing outside the court watching. She put down the basketball, came to the position closest to him and bent down, taking a long, long breath. At the same time, she put her hands on her knees. The sweaty collarbones and arms are very attractive under the street lights. But, even though she was so tired, when she approached Sakakihara Raku, she raised her head seriously and tried her best to ask. "Ellie, why are you here?" The moment he saw her raising her head with a sweaty face, Sakakihara thought of her radical leap towards the basket, and suddenly felt that she had changed a lot. "I have become a lot braver." Sakakihara handed the lunchbox in his hand towards her. "It's late. I came to see how your practice was going. I brought you something and took you up to sleep." For me. Tianhai's Hixu was a taciturn girl. She silently took the lunchbox, silently opened the lid, and silently looked at the fried ice cream inside. The girl looked at it for a while, then looked up at him again. No words. Only sight remains. "I made it for you," Sakakibara said. "No. You don't like eating now," Sakakihara smiled. "No." Tianhai's Hixu shook her head and still stared at him. This is probably how Yuki feels to people. Although she rarely speaks or makes any body movements, she can always get a glimpse of her true inner thoughts through her eyes. "Thank you, Ellie." After taking the lunchbox, all she could do was probably say a sincere thank you to him, right? He reached out and rubbed Tianhai's Hixu's head. "Want to thank me?" Yes. Tianhai's Hixu stepped on her toes, and her head met his palm. Sakakibara didn't want to say anything big to her, or use words to eliminate Zayuki's inner dilemma. He simply laughed and said simply, "How about we play some basketball?" Play basketball. Asterisk. Dong dong, bang, clang, chirp. The basketball and sneakers were constantly rubbing against the ground. Defend. Defend. Don't always think about offense. The reaction was slow and the attack was too casual. Hurry up, the reaction speed needs to be faster. Control the ball. Control the ball, control. Amami no Yuki rushed straight in front of her eyes, her steps were quick, and the basketball she controlled flew in a pretty arc, right through Raku Sakakibara's arm, before he could finish shouting out the words of Yuki Yuki. The girl crossed his position, bent her steps, and jumped up outside the three-point line. The basketball drew an arc in the night sky. Goal. Then, it fell quietly. This ball was completely unexpected by Sakakihara Raku. Even though he was distracted for a moment just now, there is an absolute gap between him and Tianhai's Hixu in terms of physical fitness and basketball skills. So no matter what you say, you shouldn't give Hixu this opportunity to shoot a three-pointer over her. But this is nothing to be disappointed about. On the contrary, this proves that Higsyu's hard work has achieved results. What should be said about her ball from the start? There is a sense of perseverance. She basically doesn't defend, only attacks. He doesn't even defend his offensive moves at all, but actively attacks offside to counter-attack himself and disrupt his defensive rhythm. And she beat Sakakibara Raku with a three-pointer, which was not the happiest thing about Sakakibara Raku. What makes him happier is, just now, Tianhai's Higsu did not blindly follow her own training. Instead, she followed her own inner thoughts and directly used an eye-catching operation. Sharp. The basketball fell into the basket and fell to the ground, making a crackling sound in the silent night. Raku Sakakibara looked at Tenkai Yuki, who was bent over panting and sweating like rain, and he sincerely praised him. Did the ball go in? It went in, and it was still a hollow goal. That's great, I'm so happy. I wonder if Higsu is born to study. Sakakibara Raku always feels that she learns quickly. Basically, she can get the key points after a few rounds of practice by basically saying what she says. And he can quickly adapt to his own rhythm to deal with her, and break out at critical moments. Maybe she didn't like sports very much since she was a child, but she is really a genius in sports. Sakakibara smiled inadvertently. I originally thought that it would be great if Higsu could win the top 10 in this sports festival with everyone, but now it seems that with the help of Tiano and Liulai, it is not impossible to win the championship. Ellie, why are you laughing? Tianhai's Higsu reluctantly supported her body. Although it was painful, it was obvious that she was still happy for the ball just now. Happy? Happy? Happy, what? Sakakibara supported his back with one hand and asked seriously, can you tell me the reason why Yuki didn't choose to defend just now? I obviously told you to defend. Tianhai's Higsu was obviously stunned after hearing this, and then slowly replied. I just think that there will be a chance to break through. You just feel that way, Sakakibara frowned. No, isn't that right? Tianhai's Higsu was unsure. Sakakibara laughed again. Growing up. This is growth. Higsu had her own opinion. Even though it was just a very small beginning, she still did not completely choose to follow her own arrangements, but chose to follow her own judgment. This is a very good idea. Start. This is what she found while training day and night. Something that was her own. She was just happy that she scored a three-pointer. Do you want to continue? It's almost 12 o'clock. Of course. Okay. Answer energetically. Raku Sakakibara walked over, picked up the basketball, and turned around, then continue. Play outside until 2 in the morning and then go back to sleep. Does Yuki have any special ideas this time? Want to dunk on the rim? Haha, you really said the cruelest words in the calmest tone. However, with you now, there is no way you can succeed, Yuki. I won't lose either. You must have learned Ling's lines. The two restarted the game. The two sides exchanged words, and the offense and defense became more and more intense. The two ran back and forth on the court, staggering, forgetting everything. He even forgot the time for a while and just ran towards the end of the night. Asterisk. However, the time can only last until 1:30 in the morning at most. Tianhai's Higsu was so tired that she couldn't hold on anymore. The two of them lay on the lawn of the park dripping with sweat and looked at the night sky. The exam will be tomorrow, Yuki, will you be fine? Sakakibara put his hand on the back of his head. No problem, came the tired response from the girl beside him. That's good. Raku Sakakibara closed his eyes and felt the coolness of the night wind entering his sleeves. Yuki wants to win the basketball championship at the sports festival. I want to. Amamai. Yuki sat up and ate the fried ice cream made by Sakakibara Raku before. Her sweat had soaked her t-shirt and the hair around her ears. Really? I really, Really want to, Tianhai's Higsu said while eating. How about giving me a shout? I, Yuki Tenkai, want to work hard to win the women's basketball championship. Suddenly, Raku Sakakihara shouted loudly into the night sky. After releasing it, he laughed, which was regarded as a demonstration. No, Tianhai's Higsu blinked. Huh? Why not? Sakakihara turned around and looked at her cute little face. Looks so silly. Haha. Sakakihara smiled again and lay back on the lawn. The tips of the grass touched the back of his neck. Sure enough, it was very, very easy to get along with this kind of snow. By the way, I have something I want to give you. Sakakibara sat up, left for a moment, and then brought over a cardboard box under the gaze of Amami Nazuki. What's this? Sakakibara tried to pass the carton into her hand. Yuki, you have a competition the day after tomorrow. I see that the shoes you are wearing are the ordinary sneakers I bought for you when I went shopping. I took the time to buy you a new pair in the afternoon. Sneakers. New shoes. What? I'm sorry to accept it. It's okay. It's not like you don't know that I'm not short of money. I just have a slightly better pair of sneakers. Just think of it as Zhigsu's reward for working hard for so long. It's a gift from me. Zhigsu. Tianhai's Higsu did not continue to speak, but sat quietly on the lawn, sweat dripping down the outline of her face along her dyed hair. From Sakakihara Raku's perspective, her petite back contrasts perfectly with the vast night sky. A small gift, Yuki, I'm not short of money, this is a small thing for me. Dad is also very rich. Sakakibara already knew what she was going to say. Tianhai's Higsu looked at the opened lunchbox in his hand, then at the pair of sneakers he was still wearing, and then at the cardboard box he handed over. The girl's face did not have the same sense of loss as before, but with a very calm tone and mentality, she looked at him seriously and said, "But these things are only given to me by Ellie. The old man manages family affairs absolutely first rate. But for him to notice what clothes his daughter should wear, whether she needs a new pair of shoes before the game, this is not something he can think of." Tianhai's Higsu said thank you, took away the sneakers, and opened them to take a look. They are a pair of white high-end sneakers, very nice and handsome. Like. Nice. You love it? How can I repay LE in the future? You don't have to think about this kind of thing. I think I still need it. But I can't think of what LE needs now, and I can't do anything about Sister Kyo's matter. So, whenever LE needs me in the future, I will do my best. As Tianhai's Higsu spoke, she moved closer to him, as if she wanted to give people a firm feeling with her body and eyes. Sakakibara laughed. It is true. I didn't laugh at you for not telling the truth, but I was surprised. What a surprise. Amami Yuki, who was obviously so serious, did not give Sakakibara Raku any heaviness at all. On the contrary, he found her mood and thoughts very cute. Yuki, do you like me? Like. Then you have to like yourself too. I will. Then. Sakakibara stood up, holding his knees, and walked towards Amami Yuki who was sitting on the lawn. He knelt down on one knee and stretched out a tightly clenched fist towards the girl. I believe in you, Yuki, and please work hard for basketball starting tomorrow. I believe in you, and you will definitely achieve good results. Tianhai's Higsu looked at the fist he handed over with some disbelief, and then looked at him again. The girl subconsciously said, "Thank you." No, Sakakibara shook his head and smiled, what should I say now? Tianhai's Higsu was stunned for a moment, facing his smile, looking at his smiling eyes, and seeing herself reflected in his eyes. The girl slowly raised a petite fist, parallel to him. I will believe in myself. That's right. Sakakihara stretched out his fist forward, touched the dumb girl, and smiled at her. Under the night sky, only his smile shone in front of him. In less than a moment, the sweaty girl also smiled lightly in return. Yes. It will definitely happen.